All right. That is an intro right there, ladies and gentlemen. That is a song to play for an introduction of any show. That is the instrumental number 405, and it's by this artist named Digital Shock. I typically leave the description of the song that I play during these What's Your Questions. So if you want to know who played what, or et cetera, then check the description out. So welcome out, everybody, man. There, I got my little blah 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 out. Welcome out, everybody, to another What's Your Question. My name is Logan. Decode Your Reality. Number 43. 43 being the 14th prime number. This is a big deal number. Tied to the spider card. Tied to Hollywood. I hope that all of you watched my latest decode on Satan, the devil, the pitchfork, the boogeyman, and how it was tied to Hollywood and the number 43. Hollywood being the number 43. This is What's Your Question number 43. And 43 is the 14th prime number. And I hope by now all of you are kind of on the same page of my mindset. You don't have to have everything in common with what I say, but I hope that the majority of you are on board with this, with this suggestive model here of how we live out this reality. And, I have a really big decode coming out called Hotel Capricorn. And it's from Hotel California, from the great band, the Eagles. One of the best-selling bands of all time. You got the Beatles, Zeppelin, and the Eagles. And that notorious, famous song they had that came out in 1976 or 77, Hotel California. This one was probably the most clear for my decoding research and what it is going to show. Very crystal clear. And I'm not just going to be showing, Don Henley and Glenn Fry, the writers of that song, and the rest of the band members, when it came out, how long the song was, 6 minutes and 30 seconds, which is tied to the devil and the number 29 in copper and the weight of copper. But I'm also going to be showing that there's another gentleman involved that has nothing to do with the band, that actually was born in the 1800s, and yet he's directly tied to the Eagles and the band and all the members and the song Hotel California. And then, then you really pose the question like, okay, how can somebody that wasn't even born at this time period and died many, many years ago, how can that person be linked to Hotel California, the Eagles, the band members, when the song came out, the song title, the length of the song? How is that possible? Because we're living in a scripted reality. The reality that we're living out is a predestined one. So there's no other logical explanation for what I'm showing here. And many of you other great decoders, what you're showing is the same kind of, examples from your own research. So you can become, you make your truth your own and become a believer of how this reality works. So I got a big decode coming out with that. It's just going to be pretty phenomenal. So let's jump into some of you great decoders. Thanks everybody for being here. I won't be doing one next week. That's why I decided to come on and do one this week. So I'll be absent next Saturday, but I will be having some content come out. So just stay tuned for that. But let's get into some of your questions. Let's just acknowledge all you great decoders. Ethan Rucker in the house. Hey, Ethan Rucker, a lot of people have been asking about you and your YouTube channel because I've mentioned you here and there. So you may want to throw that down in the comments section for everybody to tie into. The great Ethan Rucker, the great decoder, very smart, intelligent man. He knows what's up. What is deja vu? 43. That was the question. Ethan likes to ask the questions. What is this? What is that? Who is this? Who is that? And then he asked the question, what is deja vu? And it's 43. History repeats itself. Oh man, our reality is hilarious. And I hope you all checked out my Skull and Bones Decoded, the Hurricane Decoded. I mean, they're undeniable, these organizations and people. I mean, they don't get a hall pass. There's like no exception, like, no, you're being used, but I'm not. So let's get into some of your questions. Let me jump into it, and I'm going to try to attend to all of your questions as best as I can. Obi-Wan, have you thought about decoding Super Mario Brothers? Yeah, I have. Mario and Luigi, Nintendo, the Nintendo system. I mean, you go all the way back to Atari and the video games back then, and television and ColecoVision, the stuff that I grew up with. And it's pretty clear to see how our reality is moving from analog to digital. And I don't know what's going to happen beyond that. Cosmic Fern Tree. You can check out you can check in anytime you can check out anytime you like. I think that's what you meant to say. That's right. In the song, the band, the Hotel California, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. That song, Hotel California, was insinuating reincarnation. And that song, which I will be showing to support I thought what they meant was reincarnation and never leaving this game. Now that's a big wah, wah, wah. It's a big damper. Some of you would get angry at that. But let's just for 1 second, hypothetically, let's say that is absolute and it becomes a 1 + 1 = 2 kind of truth. What are you going to do about it? That means that anybody taking their own lives, that's just like, you're just going to have to repeat it again anyway. So if we just do the 1 + 1 = 2 and the fact that reincarnation is the only way to go and we never get out of this game. And again, I'm saying it's a possibility. I'm not saying it's absolute. Then I would think then you'd move on to the next question. And that is, okay, well, if I'm going to just reincarnate and change avatars, maybe there's a chance that I get to level up for my next round of living. And what would be the requisites to level up? I mean, if you study the law of one material, the raw material, that talks about you're either going to graduate into a higher density, or you're going to stay into the same density, or you're going to go down into a different density, or it's all about exchanging of dimensions, really is what it is. And again, I'm not saying that the law of one material is absolute, but it's a possibility. That material, that's all raw material. You know, is that why movies are rotted? R-A-T-E-D, movies. Ra is Ra just Saturn, Chronos. It's pretty interesting. So Dex Invictus, which I know it's D348, you started reading Bentoff, awesome. Stalking the Wild Pendulum, which, you know, Jason from Archaics mentioned that book and he triggered it. I mean, I read that book several times when I was away, locked up in prison. I read that book several times. It's one of my favorite books of all time because that guy had a great way of drawing illustrations on the mechanics of, you know, how our consciousness works. Pretty awesome, that book. He's got several books out. Red Rose, Kate Perry, Chained to the Rhythm. Yeah, I mean, folks, you know, I mean, the Eagles, this band, the Eagle, of course, is tied to the Scorpio and, you know, the 8th zodiac sign. And, you know, I mean, these bands, these influencers, these actors, these actresses that actually chose the profession, or the profession chose them to be on the screen, the silver screen. Some subscriber or somebody had posted in the comments. But somebody dropped a comment. I can't remember who it was, but thank you so very much. Wow, 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 wow. And it led me to something that is just wow. And this guy had said, I think it was a gentleman, he had said that he used to work at the movie theaters. And he had said that the bulbs that are used at the movie theaters are xenon bulbs. I should have looked at this. But this is what's great about collaborating with other decoders and getting several different vantage points. So the bulb that projects the image onto the silver screen, as this person put it, there was another clue, silver being 20 in numerology, tied to duality, silver being the most electrical element on the periodic table, where electrical sources of energy feeding the main construct called the battery of life. But the silver screen is what gets lit up and the movie gets projected, and then we see that, and then we get influenced by that. And that bulb in the movie theater, anytime you go to the movies and you look up and you see the projector back there, that bulb is called a xenon-based bulb. Xenon being the 54th element, 54 tied to the word phosphorus. Phosphorus being 54 numerology. The stranger in your head, xenon, the stranger. There's someone in my head, but it's not me. Pink Floyd, Brain Damage, Dark Side of the Moon, 1973, song number 2, talking about the left and right hemispheres of your brain. That statement by Roger Waters, there's someone in my head, but it's not me. That equals 131, which is the weight or atomic mass of the 54th element called xenon. It's just a trip, man. It's so ridiculous. But this comment of this person, which I'm so grateful for, dropping that bomb on the silver screen, and then the movie theater bulb that projects the image onto the screen so you can watch the movie, is a xenon-based bulb. So I started to research it. And the largest manufacturer is a company called Philips. And Philips is actually from the Netherlands. It's Dutch-based. And I started decoding the son and the father who created the company back in 1891. Folks, it's just these people, like, they're being used to create these things in life, to make it move forward. So when we say, well, yeah, I don't watch TV, I don't watch the mainstream. Okay, great. You have completely eliminated that from your life, but you still have a cell phone and you're looking at stuff on here and people sending you videos and you're watching those and you're watching YouTube and you're watching whatever it is you're watching. You're watching something. Everything is influencing you here. So you can eliminate one influence and then you're going to be moving into something else that will be influencing you. It's just hilarious, this whole reality. And we can't help it. Feed the wolf. What does feed the wolf mean? The machine. The machine is life. Essentially, I want you to take into consideration, going back to numerology, the word machine equals the number 24, just like the word wolf, just like the word hotel. Hotel California. Hotel is your body. That's the Hotel California means your body. And California means Capricorn, which means time. So it's your light body slowed down into time, and now you have just a certain amount of it to be influenced and create on the world stage and live under your screenplay. It's just that's it. So let me jump in. Let me just really quickly, I want to show all of you this because this was pretty massive. Let me see if I can find it with this bulb thing. Okay. Where did I put it? Hang on a second. I want to show all of you this because this was such a massive piece of it all, and I'm very grateful to the person who suggested or not suggested, but said, hey, I worked in a movie theater and, you know, the bulbs are made of xenon. They're xenon bulbs. Let me see if I can, here it is. I'm going to share my screen and show you what it looks like. Okay. There we go. Okay, so this is a graphic that I will be bringing out in my decode of Hotel Capricorn, otherwise known as Hotel California by the great band, the Eagles. And this right here is a xenon-based bulb that they use in projectors for movies. You go to the movie theater, this is probably, more than likely, the bulb that is used to project the image onto the screen. And what you'll see is that the big distinguished pieces here is that you have this bulb, and I believe this is kind of what the shape of the earth is. This bulb shaped right here. It looks like an egg, right? The cosmic egg. And inside this bulb is xenon gas. And what you'll also notice is in between, or inside the bulb, there's two tetrahedrons. There's two pyramids there facing one another. And then right in between here, if I just zoom in, right in between this point is a hollow space. Now, if you watched my Great Architect of the Universe, I showed four of them, four tetrahedrons. But ladies and gentlemen, this right here may just be the constructs of our reality as we know it right here. Just a fractal down. And I believe that the elements that would be representing this would be bismuth, xenon, of course, rhodium, which would be in the very dead center, which is where the earth plane would be, and then perhaps this element called strontium, which is the mirror of bismuth's 83. The reason why I say bismuth is because bismuth is the element that's diamagnetic. Diamagnetic means it's not affected. It's kind of a neutral based element. And then if you go if you go type in bismuth diamagnetic, what you're going to see, let me just show all of you here, and then I'm going to get to some of your questions. But if you just go type in bismuth diamagnetic levitation, okay, you're going to see something that looks a hell of a lot like what I just showed you for that projector bulb. And there's all these people that are doing it, and there's a magnet that sits right above. Right above. Here's a good example of it right here. And you'll see that he's got them facing the other way, but there's a magnet at the very top here, and the magnet is pulling at the square in the middle that's levitating. And then these tetrahedrons, these pyramids are made of bismuth because it's diamagnetic, meaning it doesn't get affected by the magnet, which is probably a neodymium magnet, which is, again, neodymium, the 60th element, feed the wolf, 60, it's magnetic. So in this construct of physics, here's God. God would be the magnet. And then it would be literally holding into place Earth. Earth is the cube, the square, then the circle's gonna fit in there. So these constructs here, ladies and gentlemen, you should check this out. I'm going to put this link so you can go watch it into the description. But you should be checking this stuff out and doing your own research, because it is just it's so blatant. It's so, here, I just put it in there. I'm going to pin it to the top. But it's just so blatant how we just have fractals down. We have our own things going on with experiments and physics and science and the quantum realm, and then you have nature, and then you have the expansion of these smaller models, which I just showed you with that xenon bulb. And I think that xenon bulb, again, big shout out. I'm going to end up finding the person's screen name and asking him if it's okay if I share it. But I'm sure, because they put it publicly. But this was a huge, I'm very grateful, because it was a huge piece to my research, was that model that I just showed you, and then of course, like I said, I'm just going to instantly go and start to decode Philips and the company. And then who brought that out? Who founded the Philips company? And then the last name Philips. when you do the numerology of that, because that's the name of the company. It's just so hilarious. The Flat Earth Warriors. It's not a ball. I agree. I don't think it's a round ball, but I think there's an egg that surrounds Earth, and we can call that the firmament. So essentially, when it's said that there's a globe, that's not a 100% bullshit lie. Because the firmament that surrounds the Earth, and this is a possibility, that would be the shell, the egg shell. And that's probably created by the revolution of what they say, the Earth going 1,000 miles an hour. That probably causes the barrier that we call the firmament, which I think is the eggshell. That's where I stand right now, currently in my mode of research. But I think that the very reason why, you have these organizations that are talking about going here and going there and space travel. Folks, if there's such a thing, see, I believe in time travel. Not just moving through time right now, because we're all doing that. I'm talking about jumping from dimensions. I think that's absolutely possible. I think it happens. So when people say, oh, we're not getting out of here, well, I beg to differ. I think it's already happening. Now, you may not be able to get a rocket past the firmament, but who cares? So, I'm not really, for me, that's why I've never got into the whole flat earth stuff. And, I don't really care. It's really who's got the biggest set of balls and who wants to debate and who really cares? I mean, okay, great. If that's what you believe, awesome. It's not going to change my life. Now, if there are other worlds beyond the firmament, well, okay. That's fine. If there's other worlds past the ice wall, well, okay. But we just don't know that. And what if we actually finally get there and then the real 1 + 1 = 2 is there's nothing beyond there. A lot of people's worlds will be shattered, because they were projecting all this onto the world stage, and they were full of it. So, it's great to, and again, I mean, you got to make the truth your own. It's great to theorize and all that kind of stuff. And I'm totally interested in going past the ice wall for sure. I'd love to go on a trek. That's essentially, I think that's what people that are huge into the flat earth, and they're just like, that's all they do. Well, you're instead of just talking about it, why don't you go do something about it? Why don't you put a team together and then go there and figure it out? And you're going to get the first line of excuses. You're going to get people that are going to say, well, because I had this conversation with, what's his name, on Syncretism Society that came on, who does the documentaries. And I was like, okay, well, then that's great. You brought it to the limelight, but why don't you go do something about it? And then the excuses came. Well, you're going to, the military, and you're going to, okay, well, dude, you're just going to give up then? Is that it? So, okay, so you've got your truth and that's it. Great. So you got your movie, you got your documentary, and that's all you got. You got nothing beyond that. It's just funny. So why not go all in, man? You got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You got your movie out there, your documentary, but you're not doing anything about it. But again, it's not my journey. I don't care. But I don't get into these constructs. I don't really care. And if it does impact our lives, if there is something beyond this plane, well, we're either going to or not going to find out about it. And if we do find out about it, then my life would be impacted by it. But right now, it's a very division-based theory, opinion, and that's it. That's kind of how I stand on it. And that's no disrespect to, because I got plenty of friends. Big shout out to Danny and Santos and Crystal and Nick and all those are the syncretism. I got plenty of friends that are flat earthers, and they that's their truth, and they stand by that, and they preach about it. And I think a lot of people are more relaxed about it right now, but some of these new people that really, they get angry and then they start to lower their frequency, and they're no better than the people that are maybe trying to deceive you. It's like, man, just you own your truth, and then that's it. You don't have to go push up against and feed the machine on the lower frequencies. Should we organize a picnic at the ice wall? Well, again, that's, when I had done the podcast with, I can't remember his name, Hibbert, or I don't know, but it was me and Santos, and he came on, and, he was talking about his documentary. And then I had said, I'm like, well, why don't you guys organize some kind of trip? I mean, okay, great. Now that you're 1 + 1 = 2. Let's just say that your +1 = 2, and that 2 is the earth is flat. Okay, great. So you've established that as your truth. Awesome. So the question I would have is it changing your life right now? Like, has it changed your life? Is it changing your life knowing that that's your truth? Because it's not going to make you sleep any differently. It's not going to make the way your hair comes out when you do your hair, when you take a shower. It's not going to make your shower feel better. It's not going to make your food taste better. So just what does that truth do for you in your life? Some people just got to get out there, and they just got to push and hammer and just yell at people and scream at them and call them sheeples and all these ridiculous words. They're just lowering their frequency, becoming just like the people that are pushing up against them. And it's just like nobody wins. So if you got your 1 + 1 = 2 and you think that the earth is flat, then why don't you take it to the next step? Take it to the next step, man. The next step would be, okay, let's organize a group of people to go wherever. I mean, I'd be interested in going to the North Pole, if you ask me, because to me, that's the center of the dish, and that's the 90-degree point, and to me, that's where the light comes in. That's where your black sun would probably be. But that's just me. But I'm not that crazy about it to trying to plan a trip and organize a trip and go there. I'm not. That's it doesn't really interest me. I'll be interested to see if somebody else does it, but I didn't incarnate to do that. That's not what I incarnated for. Anyway, I don't want to get too much on that because, again, I mean, you got to make the truth your own or whatever it is you believe. But if you're that much of a fanatic about it, well, then talk is cheap. You put out a video, document, go do something about it. Go organize a trip and get a group of people. Yeah, I mean, hey, people are going to die. Well, I guess then that's what's holding you back then. So you will never know with absolute certainty until you actually go to these places to prove it. You can prove it through science and these models and logic and common sense. Yes, that is absolute. But don't you want to have the definitive? If you're a big person that believes in these constructs, the definitives are at those areas. See, I don't care. That's why I don't really care. Me personally, but that's just me though. So anyway, that's as much as I'm going to say on that. Like I said, I'm neutral based when it comes to that topic. I'm not a fanatic on it. You got David Weiss, who's probably one of the most authoritative figures on that topic. That's what he does. He kind of incarnated to push that whole model. But I would even tell David right to his face, dude, what are you doing about it? You're teaching people, but the absolute proof is actually going to these areas. That would be, then you'd have bragging, then you'd be able to say, hey, I told you so. But all you got are theories and you got scientific experiments and you got your 1 + 1 = 2, but the definitive on the world stage is to actually go to these areas. And no one's organized any trips. Nobody's doing it. You know why they're not doing it? Because they're afraid they're going to die. They're going to get shot. The military is going to take. Hey man, how bad do you want it? If you had like 20,000 people, that's nothing. If you had 20,000 people show up to go on a trek to whatever, like say, let's say the North Pole, you think that and you had it on video and camera and you could figure a way how to get it and film it live all the time. Do you actually think they would just machine gun everybody, all 20,000 people down or bomb them? Come on. I doubt it. No way. Innocent people being shot and killed? It ain't gonna happen. But see, no one's got the cojones to put this whole team together. Not yet anyway. I'm just keeping it real raw and visceral here, folks. I'm just the soundboard, giving my take on it. That's not any disrespect to anybody who believes in these constructs. I mean, it's just crazy. People, they shirk at like, oh, we never went to the moon, and then they're just on the wagon of Admiral Byrd and all his footage, and they're like, oh, but that's real though. Admiral Byrd and him going, all that footage is real, but not going to the moon. I mean, where's your logic and common sense on where you're going with this? It's just funny. Hilarious, man. What I don't know. What we do is we take our truth and then we do whatever we can to support it. And even if it kind of goes along the lines of something else that you don't believe in, that's not true, but your proof is to justify what you believe. Third-party stuff that you don't even know is real, authentic, none of it. You'll put your faith in it as long as it supports your truth. And we all do it. Shrooms. Somebody mentioned shrooms and that just triggered. I just wanted to, like usual, big shout out to my main man, Jordan, at Waters Above Crypto. He's such a great person. We have our podcast number 10 coming out next month, I think. No, maybe it's this month. And I appreciate all you supporters. I know he does as well, but he's such a great person. His mind is so amazing. And I give him credit all the time because he's crushing it, as he should, because he was incarnated here to be an influencer, to be an artist. That's what he is. He's a lot of things. So if you want to, and he started off with the crypto thing, and he had his whole methodology, which he still uses, but now he's moving into, more of how to become a better person, how to become the best version of yourself. So he's morphing it into that, and he was telling me, he's like, it seems like more people are gravitating towards that, which is great. So I think he's found his calling. I will announce, since I'm mentioning him, so big shout out to him. Go check out his mastermind course. Go sign up for his course. It's not a lot. You'll get something out of it. You'll get a ton of stuff out of it and just become a better person. That's all that matters anyway, is what is your frequency. But I will, I wanted to bring up the Derek's website and the Gematrinator, because Jordan had brought it up, and he had kind of mentioned to people on his Friday Live that him and we had discussed collaborating and bringing out our own website application for decoding. And that's, and I'm neutral to, Gematrinator and Derek. Don't really know him. Did a podcast with him. But he kind of did a low blow with me. He did something that a little kid would do, but nonetheless, I'm just still neutral, don't care. So I have no resentment or hard feelings towards anybody. And I respect, he's got a website, he's got a lot of people following it. And if he decided to start charging for some of these ciphers, and I think, for him, it's, obviously it's a move that is gonna change the tables for some people. But again, just like Jordan, I take the same stance. I respect his decision and what he decided he wanted to do. I see why. I think in a lot of ways it was a smart move. So Jordan and I, we made the decision. We've been talking about this for a while though, behind the scenes. We decided to collab and make a brand new site that will be way different than that one. And we're really, I got a developer. I'm not going to mention who it is right now that I'm working with. A great person, got a great heart, great frequency. Looks like we're going to be being able to build it with him. He's already started on it. So, keep your eyes out for that. And it will completely, be a huge game changer in the decoding world, because all the methodologies that I've been using, a lot of people want to implement those at the touch of a button and stuff. So we're going to do our best to get these implemented on this upcoming app or website or both. And then Jordan wants to incorporate some of his crypto stuff in there, and some one clicks, and it changes everything, and the calculators and all that. So we're pretty stoked. I don't know when that's going to happen. We've already started, kind of working on it, if you will. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that. And I think Jordan's on board. I don't want to charge for it. We don't want to charge for it, like for the calculators and the ciphers and, so there's going to be that, layer to it. And there'll be other ways to support what we're doing. And it's already happening now. So it's a beautiful thing. All right, so let's get into some of your comments. Ben Martin, do you believe in life after love? I would imagine like you were in love and then you fell out of love. Is that what you're asking? And then do I believe in life after that? I'm not sure. Can you maybe expand on that? All that matters is the present moment. Exactly. Big shout out to Nigel at Devil's Playground and Harry, and they do a great job at showing their truths. We've done a few collabs. Got to do another one with you guys, Harry and Nigel. It'd be great to get together. It would be Decoding the Playground Part 3. But Nigel put an awesome comment in about, it was on my Satan Decoded, and he had said that Santa Claus comes down the chimney. And of course that to me is a representation of, light coming down to play the game down the chimney. But then he gives you presents, and the presents in phonetics is the present moment. And that's the now moment. And that was a really nice way to put it that Nigel had put in the comments. So big shout out to Nigel at Devil's Playground. I'm looking at your comments. So much evil things happening in the world. Yeah, well, that's been happening for a very long time. You go back to the Wild Wild West, hundreds of years. You go back to the Vikings. You go back to, there's always been evil things going on the world stage. It's nothing new. Obviously, it may be getting a little, like technology advances in our age right now. Things are really kind of, getting really deep. But nonetheless, Yeah, evil's always here. What's up, Jazz? Mike. Yes. Mike, I'm not sure. Got Las Vegas in the house. You're asking me a question. No, what's up? The Mike, yeah, if you can bring it, if that's what you mean. Have I decoded karma? Let me just, I forgot what that was. Let me just double check here. Yeah, karma's a 10. The word karma is a 10, which is a match to the word man, which is a match to the word tax. Man and tax are both 10s, but they're also both 415s in numerology. Is there such a thing as karma? If you believe so. And then, if you believe that, then there would have to be some kind of free will component to our reality, which I'm not opposed to. Oh, where's the mic I need? It's up in the closet in the spare bedroom. Can't miss it. Lala mess into what about decoding dreams? Yeah, I mean, I got a buddy of mine, really close friend of mine. He's been writing his dreams down for a very long time. Keeps a note. He wakes up and, I started studying lucid dreaming, and the suggestive model was to have a notepad by your bed, and when you wake up, you write down what you remember. And I started to try to do that, but then I lost interest. I just lost interest. So, but I mean, a lot of people, like, I had this dream and you were in it and this happened, or I had this dream and, and it's this wild dream. And I mean, if all of our dreams came true, like sleeping dreams, this life would be completely different, but that's not how it works. So I can't really speculate on dreams. I just feel like if you haven't seen my Life is But a Dream Decoded, I showed that there's a very good possibility we are living inside the lucid dream of the cosmos. It's having a dream, and we're in it. I mean, you have that word called daydreaming, so it's kind of interesting. Miss Cool Gemini says, I know karma is true. My 2 exes hurt me and they are no longer with us. Well, I mean, that doesn't mean absolutely that karma is true. I mean, it just may be that your 2 exes hurt you. It was part of your script and theirs, and then they're no longer with us because it was in their script to pass away. So, and I'm not saying that it's not true, your truth, because all that matters, Miss Cool Gemini, is what you believe. I'm just being kind of the devil. I'm always the devil's advocate. I'm always the guy, I'm the doubting Thomas. I'm always, I shouldn't say always, I'm typically going to be that guy that will put a fork in it. And I will say, well, did you think about this possibility? So Banny says, so some people have to suffer and some just watch because they can't do anything because there is an evil system. Well, there's also a good system. There has to be, see, there's a superhero and a villain inside this self-contained system, this reality. And I will just, again, I will throw this out there to all of you. And again, this is my truth. This is a possibility. I'm not saying this is going to be true for you. But I say that we're inside of a movie. You're in the Truman Show. You're in it right now. This is a movie right now playing, and we're being watched. And just when you turn on your phone and you're watching a YouTube video, or you turn on your phone or your computer or your Amazon Prime or Netflix, or you go to the movie theaters and you're watching that screen, is it real? No, it ain't real. They're actors and actresses reading off of a script. It's called the screenplay written by a writer. So the question is that I would have for you is, why do you get emotionally involved with some of these shows? If it's not real, why are you getting mad and sad and angry and having emotional responses to something that's not even real? See, you're watching something that's not real. It's acting. So if you take that same concept, why is it so far-fetched to take into consideration that we're being watched and we're inside of a big movie and mankind is an experiment? And if we have free will down here, you're going to give off some kind of reaction to something. You know, I mean, I watched this incredible video today when I woke up. Folks, besides what I showed you with the light bulb and the diamagnetic levitation, I watched this amazing channel that I would highly suggest you subscribe to. Let me pull it up, and I'm going to put it into the the chat. But this YouTube channel is called Dr. Plants. I'm going to put it in the here we go. Bam, there it is. Dr. Plants. And he built this ecosystem. He's got this big tank by his couch, it looks like, in his living room, and it has flowers in it, it has plants in it, and then he adds sprinklers and thunder, just like real rain and like imitating nature. And then he starts to add living creatures to this ecosystem. He starts to add shrimp. He starts to add vampire crabs, which I didn't even know existed. They're called vampire crabs, and they're cannibals. Why would a crab be a cannibal? The praying mantis, cannibalism. Why would the praying mantis be a cannibal? Why would it eat the head off of its own kind after it mates with it? Why are vampire crabs cannibals? And so this ecosystem that he built was all built upon predator and prey to keep the ecosystem balanced. And he had everything in there. He had these things, silverfish and like things to eat the bacteria so the bacteria doesn't overgrow. Every single little organism that he introduced into this ecosystem was designed to do something in the ecosystem, to keep it balanced. Then he kept adding things because he's like, this was out of whack, and then I had to add this. Then I had to take, and then he did this. This guy's amazing. I've like been diving into, like I'm hooked on this Dr. Plants YouTube channel. And I learned so much about that reality into our reality, how our reality works. Now, true, mankind may have a higher intellect, the highest intellect, may have dominion over. But to think that mankind is free is totally absurd, especially if you're a decoder and you're seeing what I've been showing you with decodes, that mankind is not in control of this reality. We're being micromanaged. So you may have some free will, like, oh, I'm gonna go take a trip to the beach. Okay, maybe that's your free will. But when you get off script, you get put right back on the script again. Anytime. I mean, I have so much material of my own decoding to support that. And then when you go watch these, like another great YouTube channel, Journey to the Microcosm, amazing. Putting under a microscope water, what's in water, and you know the ciliates and protozoas, and it's all predator prey down there. And apoptosis, cells committing suicide, and it's all the same, but it's just a fractal down. We don't pay any attention to it. Steve Crabtree, who introduced you to numerology? That's a good question. A question I can't answer. I don't remember. I don't remember. I think I just found it on my own, if I had to be honest, but that may not be absolute. So it's just a guess. I naturally just started studying numerology. I started studying numerology first, and then I got into astrology and personality types. And I think, this is all part of my personal development. When I started going through the Bob Proctor and some of these great Jim Rohn and these personal, and Earl Nightingale, and I went through this whole personal development stage. These people, they were into numerology and palm reading and astrology, and it just kind of goes hand in hand. So it was just on my path to get there. Crypto Lalo, when are you dropping the Elohim butterfly? I'm still working on it. The reason why I've called that the Elohim decoded the dog and the butterfly, and the dog's chasing the butterfly, because that's exactly how this reality worked. The dog would be us, man's best friend. And then the butterfly is kind of like, it's transformation. You're constantly transforming, or transmutation. But you guys will all see, you guys and gals, you all see when that comes out, the story in the New Testament, or the Old Testament with the Old Testament, so it's Judaism, and it's all based on the Elohim, the creator gods, plural, not singular. If that's true, and I will be very direct with all of you, and from my research, I have found that the Bible, Old and New Testament, are just another version of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. It's all Egypt based. It's just a different story told with different layers to it. Like you bake your cake, I bake mine. It's going to be different. It's absolute, folks, that the Holy Bible is just a fragment, a piece of, or the same story told from ancient Egypt. And Jesus would be Horus. The all-seeing eye in your brain, that's the eye of Horus. And then you relate that to the Christ. You are the Christ. You are the Jesus Christ superstar. That's why they made a theater out of it on stage, because it was telling you you're having your own Jesus Christ experience. And when you start to study these ancient texts, I know the Bible really good. I was raised in it, and then decoding it. I know more about it now because of decoding it. But that story about the Christ being brought up to the mountains, and then the devil saying, bow down and worship me and I'll give you all these things. That's the ego talking to you. That's not a boogeyman trying to get you to go this. It's your ego. It's a little voice in your head, which of course does run you. And you're going to navigate certain ways in life, and life is a roller coaster. All of us may have experienced anxiety, depression. That's the low end. That's like your demons. And then you rise up and you break free of that. And now you're in your angelic form. And it's just heaven and hell down here. It's a ride. So I say enjoy the ride. Who cares? Says, have heard that the two thieves on the cross of each side of Jesus represents your eyes, and Jesus is the third eye. Yes, I have a decode. If you're interested in seeing the full breakdown of this, the title of the decode is called The Two Thieves Decoded. And I showed, beyond just that construct, that your two eyes are your devils, the two thieves that steal from you. Because these two eyes, they observe the matrix playing tricks on you. The great illusion, which it's not an illusion. It is, but it's not. It's a contradiction. So the game of life needs players, and the way you play the game is through your eyes. So when you close these eyes, you tune into the darkness, and then you focus on the third eye. So there is some merit to that, and then the cross sits right here on your face. And I showed that in my Two Thieves Decoded. It's probably, besides the Great Architect of the Universe series and the Prison Planet, it's probably the best decode to watch, and Bloodline. If you want to know the esoteric tied into alchemy and the cross and these symbols and how they break down. Red Rose, when you read silently in your head without moving your mouth, whose voice do you hear? Well, obviously it's my own. It's not exactly coming through like this because it's a silent voice, but it's what I'm connected to. Whatever's implanted in my brain, whatever's running me, that's the voice. And, you know, ladies and gentlemen, I have said this and I'll say it again. I'm gonna be very crystal clear with all of you. I've gotten in the habit at the very end of my night before I go to sleep to give my gratitude to whatever's running this reality, whatever created me. Call it whatever you want. I don't like to name anything because I feel like, you know, whatever created this reality doesn't have a title or name. The ultimate, if you will. That's just me. So, you know, and I think that it's me and I am it. Same with you, having this experience called life. So I go into the complete silence and I start to give thanks and gratitude. I do my whole, you know, what we can call it a ritual for fun. And I can go in there, ladies and gentlemen, and I can grab a 52 set of cards, 52 cards. I can grab a deck of cards. This one, or I can grab the tarot, doesn't matter. And I can start asking questions, very specific ones. And then I can just shuffle the deck and I can pull cards out. And I get defined answers that are concrete, not like wishy-washy. Now, using what I just told all of you, okay? And then you bring in something like a religion where, you know, they believe in a boogeyman. And if you go ask somebody who's involved in one of these religions, can the devil read your mind? And I would say 100% out of 100% of them would say, no way. Okay, so that means that I'm ruling out any boogeyman that's reading my mind because I'm not speaking any of my questions out loud. So now I'm dealing with the creator of this reality, whatever that may be, or creators. And I'm getting my answers through the cards. What are you to make of that? How would you define that? I mean, are you going to just, I mean, from someone from a religious point of view is going to say, oh, Logan, you're possessed. Well, we just agreed that the devil can't read your mind on the way you believe your constructs. So I'm not speaking, and I'm getting my answers. So with this whole modality here that I've just explained, this is my absolute knowing that something beyond the physical being, the supernatural that I'm dealing with, is talking through me through these cards, the tarot, whatever. And I get my answers. And they're in line with my research and everything that I've been showing with my decoding. So you take that notion right there, ladies and gentlemen, you can do whatever it is that you want to do with it, but take a step back and ask yourself that question. Yeah, who's giving Aunt Logan these answers? So Steve Starr says, Lucifer coded your mind and our creator never spoke to no man. Okay, that's totally fine. I would love to see your support on that. That's probably just your opinion. But I mean, there is a actual component to what you said that I would agree upon, because it seems that Lucifer is the light bringer, and the light seems to be bringing information. Just like the movie projector, when it puts information on the screen and we perceive it as moving pictures, that's tied to Lucifer. That's the true essence of Luciferian, is that right there. So the Matrix Unveiled says you are tapping into the ether, infinite wisdom and knowledge. Yeah, I mean, it's something like that, right? I mean, you know, if you bring in astrology to this, because you see, I'm a guy, I don't know about you, but if you're here, you're a decoder, I would imagine. And you're somebody who's a fan of the mystical art platforms, astrology, numerology, et cetera, et cetera. So like, have you looked at your astrology chart? And where are these planets at in your chart? What houses, what zodiac signs? What are the default zodiac signs? What are the nakshatras that you're in? On the Vedic side of it. If you look at these layers and then you take these layers and you take what I just said, of talking to the cards and asking the card, then you know what the cards mean and what they're linked to. You have more of a definitive. You see, a lot of people that are doing this kind of work, they have results, but they're very murky. They're showing up to work and they just got a few tools. I mean, imagine being a carpenter and trying to go get a job and you show up with just a hammer and a saw. You don't have the screwdriver, you don't have the level, you don't have the pliers, the vice grips, you don't have any of that stuff. You got a hammer and a saw and that's it. A lot of people that are decoding right now, or they're throwing their opinions out there, that's exactly how they're showing up. They're showing up with no tools. So, you know, I say that you need to have a whole host of tools if you're going to show up and be a decoder. You need as many tools as you can get your hands on if you're a decoder to figure this reality out. I'm not just going to show up with numerology or gematria and say, yeah, okay, this is the way this reality works. That's like showing up to work and you're a carpenter and you just got a hammer and you're like, okay, I'm ready to go to work. It's like, dude, you can't use that hammer for everything. But that's what people are doing in the decoding world. They're showing up with a hammer and that's it. And they think they got it figured out. It's just plain ignorance. And we're all ignorant, right? I'm not saying I'm not, because I am at the level that I'm at. I still have ignorance in my life. But if you want to be a decoder and you want to figure this reality out, don't just show up with an opinion and say, wow, this is what I think it is. Okay, well, support that. Where are your tools to support that? Shauna, this guy gives me bad vibes. Okay, cool, then you can leave. I mean, I'm not for everybody. Maybe it's my shirt, it says Watcher on it, it's black, maybe because I got a city, maybe you don't like my hair, maybe you don't like the way my tone of voice is or what I'm talking about, or maybe you don't like because I use the cards and the tarot, maybe you got a Christian-based background and that's the devil to you. So, don't judge a book by its cover. That's all I can say. But you're free to do what you want. But everybody don't get after this person because they're just stating their opinion. But the people that know me, all of you great decoders have been following this work. The people that know me here, you know how I roll. Got to get to know a person. If everybody here, all of you 200 plus people here, if everybody exchanged just their astrology charts, man, the world would become such a better place. because that's kind of part of your roadmap. And you'd be like, oh, that's why you do that. Oh, got it. Got it. So now I'm not going to be a dink towards you because you show up a certain way. I can see why you show up a certain way, because you got that in your chart. Oh, okay, got it. But you know what? People are they're not interested in that. They just want to be right and they don't want to win. I want to win. It's cool to be right, but everybody's right. That's the one thing we all have in common here. Everybody's right. But not everybody here wants to win. Then you got to define, what does win mean? What's your definition of winning the game? And then it's going to be your game, because it's going to be an individualized version of it. I just will encourage all of you. Let me just show all of you something so you can have a better understanding of me being your host tonight, being your tour guide. And I appreciate each and every one of you here, whether you like me or not, whether you're here, you have negative comments and you're not even leaving it, whatever. But let me just be really, really candid, raw, authentic with all of you. And to give you another layer to look into for your own personal benefit, I'm going to use myself as the example. And you get a better understanding of who I am and why I incarnated, and part of my job and responsibility. I'm a huge fan of the Vedic astrology system, more than I am of the Western. However, I do know, being a fan of both, that they are both true. They are both true. They both have their merit. But you see, the Vedic / sidereal has one thing, a major component that the Western astrology charts do not, and that is called the nakshatras, the micromanagers of the zodiac signs. So you have the 12 zodiac signs that wrap around, which is just your eye, by the way. And then inside those 12 zodiac signs, you have what are called nakshatras, and they're the star seeds, the stars, the micromanagers. And there are 27/28, depending on what system you use. The most common is 27. And I think what's important to look at for you as an individual, now I'm not even talking about me, what will make you a better person, a better understanding of who you are. For reasons of, because then you stand in your truth, you don't have to defend it. When you know who you are and why you're here, you will do less defending. When you're not confident enough about what you believe in, that's when you start to react. And we're all guilty of it. And I work on this all the time. Not defending my work. I don't need to defend my research because I stand in it. But I catch myself, people coming at me, and as they say, they start pushing your buttons. And I have a lot of programming of reacting to people pushing my buttons, more than I have of being conscious of that and saying, I'm not going to go there. I have more years of practice of reacting towards people pushing my buttons. So naturally, my default, most of the time, will be, oh my God, I just want to pull, as I say, I just want to pull my Mars card out and just ram this person. Put them in their place. I'm going to tell them exactly. And then when you get good at it, instead of reacting in a Mars, like warlike energy, you're going to react in a more calm, neutral-based energy. And then perhaps when you get to the finalized version, you don't even need to respond. Like, oh, I told them. Like, you don't need to get the last word. Because you know that your truth is it. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to encourage all of you to take a look at is your Vedic / sidereal astrology chart and where your rising sign is in that chart. That's step number one. Where's your ascendant line? Let me give you a visual so I can show all of you this, because it will be so much easier. Let me show all of you. Hang on a second. Give me 1 second. Give me a second here. Just give me a minute. Let me pull this chart up. I'm almost there. Okay, here we go. Okay. Let me share my screen with all of you. And this, again, I want you to use this for your own benefit. This is going to be coming out with my course. So this is kind of a sneak peek, a head start, a freebie, if you will, right? I'm just going to throw this at you because it's important. So this right here is my birth chart. And it's with this website called astro-seek.com. And you click on when you log on to this, you click on this first category, you scroll down, you get to the sidereal, and then you plug in your parameters, and this is what it's going to look like. Now, what you want to do is you want to click on this tab right here called the Nakshakras, and when you do that, you now have not only the 12 zodiac signs, but you now have, you'll see on the inside, you have these 27 Nakshakras. Here's 27 at Pisces at the very end, and it butts up against the first one. They're all named. Okay, and then you can find where your planetary positions are. But what I'm concerned about here, or what my interests are for all of you, to make yourself a better person on the world stage, figure out what your rising sign is, what zodiac sign it's in, and what nakshatra it's in. And then the next step is you want to place the tarot card that would fit this nakshatra. And I have my ascendant in the sidereal, in Libra, balancing the scales of justice in the world, and it's in the 16th nakshatra. And you can come down to the legend right here, and you can get a name of all of them. So it's in this nakshatra right here. Vishaka, it's in Pada 2. They have 4 different padas, meaning basically the degrees. In the Western, I'm not this. I'm actually a Scorpio rising, and I'm both. So with what I just showed you there with my chart, I have the 16th nakshatra for my rising sign. And I say, and many of you that are astrology fans, you know that the rising sign is probably more important than your sun sign and your moon sign and anything else. It is really the foundation of who you are and why you're here. It's tied to your first house, which is your root, your anchor, the makeup of who you are, the starting point. Mine is in the 16th nakshatra, and now we want to get a visual of what tarot card is tied to that nakshatra. And here's mine. There it is. This is my rising sign tarot card in astrology. Now you know why I'm the way I am, a large part of who I am, and why I do the things I do, and how passionate and aggressive, and a lot of people say you're yelling too much, and this is the energy that I bring to the table for what I do in Decode Your Reality. I'm the tower. I am here to deliver to the world massive change. My truth. But you know what? I didn't incarnate to convince anybody. I didn't incarnate to try to pull the wool over your eyes, screw you over, to deceive you, none of that stuff. I came here to incarnate to show you the things that are my truths. Not everybody is going to follow my path. There is not just one path to get to salvation, as they say. There are many paths. Just like inside your body, you have all these veins. And you got the heart. Everything comes to the heart. Well, there's many veins that go to the heart. They all work together. So you got to look at what your tarot card is in your rising sign. And then you got to start to study this card. What does it mean? This is how I show up. This is the 16th card in the deck. The word light is 16, tied to Lucifer. The town I was born in has a numerology of 28 tied to Lucifer. I mean, are you just going to write that off as me being a devil and deceiver and Beelzebub and the deceiver and the boogeyman in fleshly form, trying to mock and screw you over and do all these kinds of things? Well, when you start to study someone's chart along with numerology and life path, and then you start to have a clearer picture of what this person's all about. Then you can make your judgments. Then you can make a really intelligent decision on how somebody is. So all of you should be doing it not only for yourselves, but your partners, your husband, your wives, your children. Because when they start to show up that way, you can take a step back and you'll be like, you know what? I studied that card. I read about that nakshatra. And man, that's exactly how they're showing up. And then maybe your old self was be like, I don't like the way you're doing that. You shouldn't be acting that way. Now your approach may be a little bit different. If you take a step back, say, oh, okay, now I know why you've been behaving like that all your life. And then you maybe just be a little bit more relaxed. Knowledge is power. People don't use knowledge. They just use their opinions. Most people just use their opinions. Not true knowledge, not 1 + 1 = 2. Anyway, that's just a very small sliver of how you decode yourself. There are so many ways. And I say, like I said, you're a carpenter and you're showing up to the job. You want to have a toolbox that has every tool in it. That is going to make you more valuable. If you're just somebody who shows up and said, yeah, I know what my sign is, my rising sign. I know. What's your sun sign? Oh, yeah. Where's your moon at? Got to get beyond. If you really want to take this shit serious, you're in the information age of Aquarius now. I know thyself. That's why you're here. You certainly are not here to look at my face. You certainly are not here to look at the city behind me or look at my smiley face logo. You're here ultimately because you want to have a better life experience. That's it. Of course, there are some people maybe that just show up here and they just want to try to be right and trolling and all that kind of stuff. But that's whatever. But the majority of you here, you're here because you want to have a better life experience. You want everybody around you to have a better life experience. I think we all share that. So Bonnie's asking, what happens if we are not doing as the chart says? Well, the chart's not going to tell you what to do. Matter of fact, I mean, Jordan and I touched on this on our last podcast, The Day That Never Comes. And then Ola and I touched on this on our podcast, Let's Talk About Exiting the Matrix. And Ola was saying, which I agreed with her, she says, we need to understand astrology so that way we don't react to it as much. You know, when I do readings for people, I tell people the planets, whatever you want to call them, the celestial bodies, that's your team. Like if you're a coach, you got your team on the field and you're looking at your team. And the team of your team, the planets, they don't move for you. So you got to know exactly all the moving parts and what house they're in, the degrees, what zodiac sign they're in, what's opposite of them, what's squaring them. There's so many moving parts to this system. So it's complex. But the more you understand your chart, the better you're going to be able to look at your team and not react as much. I say that these celestial bodies, they rule over us. The zodiac signs, the planets have some kind of position in this as well, these ideas, these constructs, and they're hungry. Mars is hungry. So when Mars shows up, maybe transiting your chart, it's hungry. And Mars has a job to do, and it wants to get fed to do its job. So it may end up driving some experiences in your life. Oh, hey, you know what? I'm going to bring this person. I know this person pisses that person off. So let's move this person. Let's have this person show up unannounced at their house because I know they're going to react. I know they're going to get pissed off. And Mars pushes that person. They come to your house. They start pushing your buttons. You get all bent out of shape. Next thing you know, it gets out of hand. You get arrested, domestic violence case. I mean, I'm just giving examples. These are the things that I feel that the reality that we're being ruled over by does. And we need to start taking into consideration this as a possibility. And then again, when you start to break down your kids and your wife and your husband and your girlfriend, when you start to look at them, you start to look at their charts and their cards and you'd be like, holy shit, that is totally them. You'll have a much more appreciation for the person, and you'll have a better understanding of how to not to react to how they come at you. Moon Peach says, listen to metal. It works. I love it. Yeah, it does. That's funny. I'm checking out your comments. Steve Starr. So it looks like Steve Starr is kind of the interrupter during this broadcast. I love it. Got to have the advocate here. My take is on it, Steve. There is no such thing as deception. We label that. That's called an adjective. All that's important is the noun. Start to study the sentence, the main components of a sentence, the noun, the verb, the adjective, the adverb. Those all equal 88 numerology anyway. Of course, the main four components of a sentence, the structure, noun, verb, adjective, adverb. Go put those in the numerology Chaldean. 88, which represents the Taurus field that we live in. The noun is the most important word. That's the subject. We end up defining these nouns with adjectives. Everything just is. There's nothing good or bad. It's our thinking that makes it so. I mean, we could add on so many different layers of this and get into some philosophy, but if you scrape all the things we add on to the main component, I like going back to the root of things. You have the noun, the verb, the adjective, and the adverb. And what's the most important thing? The subject. You're the subject. I'm the subject. So if you don't label me with anything, it's just Logan. Now there's no division. You take away the adjective, which gives motion to the noun, and the verb, which gives action to it, there's no division anymore. Nobody's interested in the nouns. They're just interested in what they can describe on what the noun's doing. That's what causes division. And be like, no, it's not that way. It's my way. People don't go this deep because they're not thinking on a deep level. Steve Starr, we're all programmed, brother. Every single one of us here. We're all programmed. That would include yourself. But anyway, you're the one who is, looks like you have just an S and you don't have a channel. So, okay. But anyway, again, knowledge is not power. Well, again, that's your opinion. Many people think it is power. So again, who's right? Everybody. Everybody's right. You're right for saying it's not. And the people that say knowledge is power, they're right because they say it's right. Who's right? Both of you. That's how you end division. That's how you win the game. You're right, Steve, for saying knowledge is not power. And then the people that say knowledge is power, they're right. Both of you are right. That ends the division. Okay, so what are we going to do next? Now what are we going to create? See how easy that was? Really easy to end division. Kara says, knowledge is power for me. Great. See, and you're right. Well, okay, so Ben Martin, you're saying you're wrong, Steve Starr. So again, Steve Starr is not wrong. Steve Starr is right in his own mindset. In his life, he's right. And then Ben Martin, you're right for saying he's wrong. That ends the division. But if we just back it up and we just say everybody's right. See, this was a big lesson for me. I learned this through Landmark. Landmark Worldwide. I learned it from Landmark and Werner Erhard, especially Werner Erhard, the founder of Landmark. He said, everybody's right. And that was when the light bulb went off. And I realized he was right. And when you kind of undertake that notion, it releases a lot of programming. Because you then don't have to defend, it just releases division and it ends up bringing in unification. It's pretty awesome. Borkoff says, Logan, what is your card? Well, I mean, I have several cards, right? I mean, I have 4 main cards. Most of you will have 4 main cards. And they all describe me. You know, they all describe me. And they're all part of my narration. Since you asked, I'll show you and since I opened my mouth to say that, I will show you. Where's my... I mean, most of you should know that with my work, I'm the 8 of Spades is my ego card. And then my spirit card, my handler card, is the King of Clubs. And then my 2 karma cards are the 2 of Spades and the 6 of Clubs. So these are my 4 cards that I'm dealing with right here. Let me see if I can get them on the screen here. Hold on. It's like holding up these are the 4 cards that I'm working through in the card system. And they're all black. I got no red. So the 8 of Spades and the King of Clubs, those are my 2 primary cards. My spirit card's the King of Clubs. The 8 of Spades is my ego card. The 6 of Clubs is my karma receiving card, meaning that somebody in my life will have that card and they'll likely give me something or help me with something, or karma receiving. And then the 2 of Spades all the way at the end there, that's my karma giving card. Ultimately, that's the card that I feed. This one right here. Oh, not that one. Kind of backward. This is the card I ultimately work for. 2 of Spades. And the crazy thing for me in this card is the 2 of Spades is the 41st card in the deck. The word Elohim equals 41. I was born at the 41st latitude north marker in Connecticut. And the 41st card in the medicine deck is the whale card, and the whale card is known as the Akashic Records holder. So I'm part of that team, whatever that looks like. Just out here doing my thing, folks. Doing my job. All of you should know your 4 primary cards. Those of you that have the King of Spades, the Jack of Hearts, and the 8 of Clubs, you will just have those cards. Some of you that have like Jordan has the 7 of Diamonds, he has the 9 of Hearts. He just has 2 cards. The 2 of Clubs, the Ace of Hearts. These are just 2 cards. So there'll be several of you here that only have a few cards. Rooster M, how backed up am I in my readings? I have very selected dates for October. And then I don't know, I don't even haven't even opened up my calendar for November yet, but I'm slowing down on readings because I don't really want to do them anymore. I have a lot of other things that are pulling my way. That's why I have this course I want to bring out onto the world stage. But a lot of people don't want to go through the course. They want to have someone interpret their charts. So I still will probably be doing readings case by case, but I don't want to be doing, I put a lot of effort into readings and I feel like I'm being pulled into a different direction. My journey is moving into a different direction. But I love doing readings. And the people that I'm doing readings for, man, whew, like superstars. Like serious positions on the world stage. And these people, they come, and I'm like, man, do you even know what you got? Do you even know what you got, man, for a code? It's pretty wild. So grateful to be in the position to be able to connect with some of these people that are like superstars. They don't even know it. And then when they become a superstar, it's like, yeah, I saw that. I was part of that. It's a team we're building here. It's amazing. What is the black sheep of cards? I don't think there is one. I mean, you could literally label every card as a black sheep. The 5 of Spades, since you asked, Red Rose, you're going to get it. You're going to get the definitive marker for this. Let me get the tarot because you're going to get the picture, and that's going to be important. Now, I have a decode coming out. And it's called Transhumanism Decoded. I know that scares a lot of people. I'm sure there's a lot of you that think that word is very evil. And I've gotten people saying, you know, are you for it? Are you against it? What are your thoughts? So I'll give you my take on this. I'll give you a little sneak peek since you asked, Red Rose. And I'm going to tell all of you right now. See, transhumanism in numerology through Chaldean. It's going to be in different. It's going to be in the other ones. I'm going to give you 2 models of numerology using these systems. How I feel, again, my truth, to properly use them. Because if you open up all the ciphers in numerology and you put transhumanism, you're going to get every number. So then where do we go from there? And essentially transhumanism would be every single number, just like every other word out there. So I'm going to drop a bomb. I'm going to drop some bombs here for you right now because you asked. And this is a sneak peek tying into my Transhumanism Decoded that's going to be coming out. Let me get the tarot card. And actually, let me get the last one. I want to show all of you. Now, I want to tell all of you this. I can say confidently right now that, and I want to tell you that Bill Gates, William Henry Gates, and Anthony Fauci They both have the same birth card. Now, I want you to take that into consideration. We're going to set that on the side here for a second. They both have the same birth card. They have different birthdays, but they have the same birth card. This is their birth card. The 7 of hearts, which is the 7 of fire, if you bring the elements on the periodic table into this. And the tarot card that represents the 7 of hearts is this one. This is Bill Gates' birthday card along with Anthony Fauci. Now, what's interesting about this is that the first New Testament Bible that came out in the Greek scripture, the first ever published New Testament, was written by a gentleman who has this as his birth card. And the guy who wrote it, published it, has the same birthday as Bill Gates. Same birthday. Which means he has this card right here. 7 is the 4th prime number. So many ways to break this down. So I'm going to set that aside now. And you take into consideration that Gates was a man that opened up Microsoft, which is all about computers. Then he joins forces with a guy named Fauci, who is a main voice in the medical world. And they both have the same birth card. How about that? Is that a coincidence? So now you have the collection of computers and medicine. 2 different fields, 2 different guys, but they have the same birth card. And then you take the first New Testament ever published, and the guy who published it has exactly the same birthday as Bill Gates. So Gates, Fauci, and the guy who first published the New Testament from the Greeks, this is their card. This is the 43rd card in the deck. And here we are doing What's Your Question 43. Remember that the word Hollywood equals the number 43. This card right here, when you know the tarot, it means choices and illusions and fantasies. Card 43. 43 is the 14th prime number. The word time, God, Satan, all equal the number 14, as well as the word mind. So then we get into transhumanism. And the word transhumanism in numerology is a 44. It's one up from their card. And it's the 5 of spades. Coincidentally, the Bavarian Illuminati, founded in, is it 1871 or something? They were founded on May 1st. May 1st is written 5/1 or 51. This is their card. This card right here is the card tied to transhumanism. 5 means man. 5 is how many fingers you have on one hand. 5 is how many toes you have on one foot. 5 is the pentagram. 5 represents mankind. Spades means your spirituality, your physical body, the temple. So you have these 2 gentlemen on the world stage along with the first published Bible having the same birth card. And this is the 7 of fire. The element that starts it all off. And then the opposite of fire is going to be the physical, the spade. Notice the spade points upwards and the heart points downwards. These 2 cards, when you put them together, you get 57, which is a match to the words The Truman Show in numerology. And then if you flip them and you start the 7 off, you get the numbers of Lucifer and rhenium And history repeats itself as 75. It's that loop that I showed you. And it's also tied to the speed of light. Okay? Now, these cards, they all link to the tarot card, the Five of Spades, to this card right here. And if you checked out my Bloodline Decoded, if you want to get more information on what I'm showing you, this is tied to Bloodline. And I showed you that this is the card. Before I even did this decode on transhumanism, I was showing that this card right here is tied to the game of life. This is card 55. This card, you'll notice that there's this figure there. He's holding 3 swords, and then there's 2 people walking away, and it looks like they've thrown their swords down like, hey, I don't want to play this. And this guy's holding the sword. He's like, oh, you guys are a bunch of sore losers. This is the card that represents transhumanism. And this card right here, ladies and gentlemen, just may indeed represent, and this is a possibility, I'm not saying this is absolute, that we may end up having a fork in the road of this reality. Maybe. To where you're going to make a decision to throw your sword down and walk away. And live through this card. Maybe. Again, it's an interpretation of the card, and it can mean so many different things. But that's the card of transhumanism. And the thing is on top of that, the Georgia Guidestones that were just taken down, tied to Ra, I broke this all down, tied to the element Ra in the 88. If you look at the overhead view of the Georgia Guidestones, this is what shape you're going to see right here. In the very middle was the middle pillar, and then the 4 other Guidestones surrounded the middle. And it formed that X. And think about what I just told you about the Bavarian Illuminati being tied to this, the May 1st birthday, the founding date of the Bavarian Illuminati, tied to this card, which is card 44, and it's tied to the word transhumanism. Now, on top of what I just said, that birthday they have is May 1st, otherwise written as 51. And there's a scripture in the Bible, the New Testament. It's Luke chapter 22, verses 10. And that scripture specifically says, and this is Jesus talking now, he says, follow the man that is bearing a pitcher of water, follow him into the house that he entereth into. And that is absolutely telling you going from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, the water bearer, the pitcher of water. That scripture, the numerology of it, is 51, which matches the Bavarian Illuminati's birthday, May 1st. 51, if you've been paying attention with alchemy, is the element antimony. And it is tied to the Eye of Horus, which is tied to your brain. 51 is tied to the Ace of Swords. Right here. This is tied to the this is tied to the 51. This is the 51st card in the deck. And the interesting part about it is if you take this, a separate system of numerology, and using my friend Sharon, who's been reading, Sharon Jeffers, the great author, the great card reader, been doing the cards for decades. It's how I learned all this stuff. She uses the Francis Bacon exclusively. And when you know how to use that cipher, you take whatever numerology outcome you get and you subtract 52, which is the total amount of cards in the deck, until you get to 52 or below. And that will be the card that's linked to the word that you try to break down with Francis Bacon numerology. Well, the word transhumanism equals 196, which is the weight of gold. Lead to gold. Well, if you subtract the 196 by 52, you're going to come up with the number 40. And just like that, not only do we have the Ace of Spades card, and that ties to the 51st card in the deck called the Ace of Swords, which is linked to Luke 22 verses 10, the numerology of that, talking about Jesus telling you to follow him into the house with a man bearing a pitcher of water representing Aquarius. But ladies and gentlemen, the 40th card in the deck is tied to the word Westworld. The numerology of Westworld is 40. And it's tied to the element zirconium. And it comes from the word zargon, meaning gold colored, lead to gold. And it has a scarab beetle for its icon, meaning death and regeneration. So that 5 of Spades is tied to the 7 of Hearts, which is the birth card of Bill Gates and Anthony Fauci, the two guys taking computers and medicine and mixing them together. And you can just use your imagination on where you could go with that story. And that's my long, drawn out answer or response of what I think that means. And it gets much deeper than that. So, what I just showed you there, and what I just narrated and described to you, I can confidently say that it's very possible, it's more than likely that the New Testament, which has 27 books in it, by the way, tied to the dragon, the New Testament is a book about transhumanism. And the paradise that is described by the Christ and so many of the others that are narrating those books are merely talking about a digital paradise where there will be perfection. And ladies and gentlemen, I got that from a separate story that I just learned when I was in Las Vegas. I was with one of my best friends. She was telling me about a girl who would take pictures of people, and then she would put all these filters on these people, especially herself. And with the applications for the phones right now, what can you do with these applications and these filters? You can make yourself look like anything you want. You can make yourself look perfect. You see, ladies and gentlemen, I can't make myself look perfect. Yeah, I can dye my hair and get rid of the grays. I can go to the gym and pump up my muscles. Girls can get breast implants. Girls can get butt implants. We can get plastic surgery. We can do Botox to take the wrinkles out. But ladies and gentlemen, over time, the body will win. Your decay will win. You cannot perfect the physical body you have. You might be able to do it in your prime, but over time you will lose. The only way you can move into a paradise is by the digital paradise. And I think that it's very possible that is exactly what that book is made for. And then you take into consideration, ladies and gentlemen, that the age of Aquarius is the information age. Aquarius is an air sign. It's a fixed sign, by the way. We were in a mutable sign with Pisces. We're not in that anymore. You're moving into a fixed sign of Aquarius, and Aquarius is all about technology because its ruler, I think its main ruler, is Uranus. And Uranus sits at 97 degrees. 97 is the 25th prime number. The word black sun equals 25. So many ways we can go on that. But Uranus is the eccentric one. Uranus is otherwise known as Anu, father sky, which mated with Gaia to give offspring called Saturn and Jupiter and all these other layers that we talk about. And it's very possible, ladies and gentlemen, that the age of Aquarius will be the rise of the machines. And that's it. And that's it. Like I said, there may be a fork in the road where you may have to make it. You might be able to make a decision. You may be able to make decisions like, no, I'm not going that route. I'm not putting my consciousness on. I'm not doing the transcendence thing. Okay, but what if you make that choice and you end up perishing? What if the paradise is a digital paradise? You see, I have this concept about Aquarius and the age of Aquarius, and we're moving into that, and you can see the technology is advancing like wildfire. And since the age of Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, and Uranus doesn't have any rules, there are no rules with Uranus. That's why it's known as eccentric. It sits at 97 degrees. It's the only planet of its kind on the way it expresses itself. Well, it kind of leads towards transhumanism. The age of Aquarius does. The rise of the machines. And so we may have this 2,160 years through those contexts of having an age. We may move into machine, folks. And that's it. And then when we start to transition into Capricorn, it's going to be a game changer, because Capricorn's ruled by Saturn, Kronos, which I think is Ra. There's a tie there to that. Capricorn is an earth sign. So it's possible that many people will be wiped out on this planet, because the planet needs a break. You know, I mean, human beings have really, many human beings, and we're all a part of it, right? We're all parasites. If you wipe your ass after you go to the bathroom, you're labeled as a parasite, because how is toilet paper made? From trees, which means you're part of the destruction of the trees. If you buy any kind of packaged good and it's cardboard, where do you think that comes from? You don't pay any attention to that. So we're all parasites. And whatever's watching over us, I think, is this: we're an experiment, we're theater, we're entertainment, and we're meaningless. I know that sounds horrific and morbid. I know that does. And again, I'm not saying it's true. But it's very possible that the age of Aquarius will wipe out a large portion of humanity. The board will be wiped clean. The rise of the machines will happen, whatever the hell that looks like. And then when the age of Capricorn comes, then the age of Aquarius will get wiped out. And then you will perhaps maybe have a true paradise on the earth. Complete wiping of the age of Aquarius. The machines get wiped away, and we restore mankind to what it was, back in the golden age. Because I personally, I'm so 50-50 on mankind being moved into the golden. I know a lot of people, and I have said this, and because it's a possibility, I'm not attached to any of these outcomes. But just because we're moving into a different age doesn't mean you're moving into the golden age. It doesn't mean you're moving into the golden age. And if you just kind of put two and two together and say, folks, if you just take religion, which a lot of people here have been programmed with. A lot of you have been programmed with these beliefs, and you may have tried to get rid of some of them, but you still probably have some embedded in your mind, in the back of your mind, as they say. It's still there hanging around saying, well, what if? And you're told that there's this paradise coming. See, you would have to think logically now that the people that have the secrets, The ones that, we're figuring this stuff out, but I'm saying, imagine they have a huge head start. Well, you would think they know what's coming. They know it. And then you would say, well, they're going to get wiped out. They're doing the evil and stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, then you got to go back to how does the machinations of this reality work? Anyway, I could go on and on and on and on with this. These are just layers of me expressing myself. This is not about me being anything dystopian / digression, or I'm not even, it's utopia, dystopia. Utopia and dystopia, when you put them in numerology, the cipher, guess what they equal? 56. Lights, camera, action is 56. It's two sides of the same coin. I'm giving you things to think about. That's exactly what we're here to do. I'm not attached to them. I'm certainly going to suggest that you are not attaching yourselves with these outcomes either, because they're not definitive. They're not absolutes. They are possibilities. All right, that was my long drawn out on the 5 of spades, but I just wanted to show all of you that's part of my transhumanism coming out. Yeah, no one truly knows, Kara. You are absolutely right. No one does really know. And even the people that may have the uppity up on things, I would even probably say that, they don't even know. So someone's asking the question, where can I learn the meaning of each number? Let me just move this to my left side. Hold on. There we go. I'm going to move to my left. Where can you learn about each number? If you go type into your favorite search engine a number you're looking to define, and then just type in the words affinity numerology. Affinity, AFFINITY, numerology. If you just type in the word like number 53, affinity numerology, it's going to be the first one in the search engine. You click on that. That website's great. Gives you the basic fundamentals of the numbers, and then it gives you the number that it will bleed into or feed. So the 53 is the makeup of the 5 and the 3, which feed the number 8. So it's a cool website to look at. Tony, all the Simpsons have 4 fingers and accept their God with 5. I broke down this. The Simpsons, why are they yellow? Why do you think the Simpsons are color? Why do you think their skin color is yellow? Number one. And then Matthew Groening. I've broken him down several times. That's all I can do is break people down and decode them. That's all I can go by. Opinions suck. Opinions with support, that suck a little bit less. Well, I think he's a Freemason. And people, it's like, okay, well, do you know the guy? Have you been to a lodge with the guy? No, but I heard that. Dude, opinions suck. Where's your support? I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying he is. Matthew Groening was born on February 15th. February 15th, Matthew Groening was born on. Which is the 46th day of the year. Now, if you've been paying attention to my research, that loop, that anomaly in pi, 19, 37, 46. 46 represents Earth. Matthew Groening was born on the 46th day of the year, tied to that loop. And his birth card is the 10 of diamonds. So interesting because my father was born on February 15th. That's how scripted my life is. So I'm tied to Matt Groening. Anyway, it's just fun. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. So the Simpsons, how do they get their truth? How are they able to predict shit? I mean, if you're somebody who's like, well, nah, they don't. What planet are you on? Tons of predictions. Who's feeding them the predictions? This card right here. If you follow the card system, this is the Jupiter card. Number 1. 36th card in the deck. 369. Keys to the universe, according to Nikola Tesla. Tied to the I am that I am. And it's tied to the word operating as an operating system. The word operating equals 36. This is tied to the operating, the word operating in numerology, operating system. System is 20, duality is 20. So the operating system is duality, and this is kind of what owns it. The beginning of it. The operating is this card. And Matt Groening has that for his birth card. How about that? A coincidence? And it's the 10. It's the 10. Say 10. You know who the devil is? It's me, it's you. You're living it out. It's your ego. That's the example, the analogy that you would put into the human being experience. Abraham Lincoln is the king of diamonds. King of diamonds is the 39th card in the deck. 39's tied to Lucifer. King of diamonds is the one-eyed king on the cards. 39th card in the deck. If you tie it to the tarot, it's card number 78, tied to platinum. What did the Queen Elizabeth that just passed away, what did she just have? Her 70th platinum jubilee. Platinum. Tied to the king of diamonds. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. See how all this stuff starts to work? You know, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you right now from, just doing this breakdown of the Eagles in Hotel California. Well, last night I'm decoding. Here's look at my sheet. All my notes. This is Hotel Capricorn. There is no way anybody can tell me differently on what I found in my research. These people, their lives, they were not their own lives. There's no way. I've decoded Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Prince, Michael Jackson, Living Colour, AC/DC, the Beatles. How many more bands, how many more people, places, and things do I need to show all of you for you to see that mankind is being used as human beings? To what level, as I said, I don't know. Perfect example. What is the greatest selling band of all time? Anybody want to take a guess? Anybody want to take a guess? I'll wait for somebody's comment. Greatest selling band of all time. Somebody let me know what that band is. Greatest selling band of all time. Who is it? Who's gonna come up with it first? It's not a race. Let's see if some of you can get it right. I know you're probably Googling it right now. Nope, it's not Metallica. There you go. Jay Warren got it right. The Beatles. That's right. According to the research that I found, the band The Beatles, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, greatest band of all time, greatest selling band of all time. Now, get this. The word the Beatles, it's tied to the element zirconium because it's got a scarab beetle on it, right? It's the 40th element on the periodic table. Here's what my research says. This is all sneak peek stuff now, by the way. I haven't released this, but I'm telling you all right now because you're here. Paul McCartney too, thank you. Here are the birthdays of the 4 founding members of the Beatles. I don't know which is which because I didn't list them. I just wrote the birthdays down. The 9th of October, the 18th of June, the 25th of February, and the 7th of July. When you take those numbers and you add them up, 9 plus 18 plus 25 plus 7, it's going to give you a total of 59. Does anybody remember what the number 59 is tied to? How about the game of life is 59? Then you take their 4 birth cards. King of clubs, queen of clubs, king of clubs, 8 of diamonds. And you add those up. And it gives you 1, 1, 1. Tied to the magic square of the sun. And they have a song called Here Comes the Sun Again. Here comes the sun. You guys know that song, right? You guys and gals know that song? 1, 1, 1. Their birth cards, all 4. Then, but wait, there's more. Then, take all their names and I want you guys and gals, all do this. Don't take my word for it. Go take their names, their birth names, put it into the Chaldean numerology cipher, and you know what number you're going to get? 226. You know what that number links to? The 88th element called Ra, the sun god. The half-life of radium, element number 88, isotope 226. The half-life of it is 1,600 years, meaning that half of it will decay in 1,600 years. Well, guess what? 2 main addresses have that 1,600. Number 1, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C. Guess what's located there? The White House. And then 1600 Amphitheater Parkway. Guess what's located there? Guess what corporate headquarters is there? How about Google? So you have Google tied to the 1600, you have the White House tied to the 1600, and then you have the Beatles' name numerology, all tying to the 88th element called radium, which is Ra, the sun god. But no, we're not living in a scripted reality, and mankind's not being used, and Logan is just way out there and he's lost his cookies. People are really trying to screw you over. People are really out there trying to get you. Mankind is really scripting sports and movies and television and governments. No, man ain't doing anything. Man is just in for the ride. They're on for the ride. They're being used. It is the micromanagement of this reality, folks. $335 videos and counting showing the same modalities. I mean, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Prince, Michael Jackson, Living Color. How about Living Color? Have you seen my decode on cult of personality? Do you want to talk about scripted reality? There was a band in the 1980s that I loved called Living Color. Danny Glover and et cetera, et cetera. Their most famous song is called Cult of Personality. Think about the title of the song, Cult of Personality. And that song they sing, "Look in my eyes. What do you see?" The cult of personality. I know your anger. I know your dreams. The cult of personality. I have been everything you want to be. The cult of personality. Those band members, their names and birthdays, 111. Folks, they sang the song, yes. They're musicians, yes. But their minds, they're not their own. Something is using us. And folks, there's nothing evil about living color. They're not trying to screw you over. Or certainly not trying to mock you. Like a lot of decode. This is not pointing to any one individual. The decoding world is into this. It's mocking and the rituals going on, and it's. No, it's not. Mankind is just being used. That's it. I don't know much more evidence. The Eagles. The band members, the Eagles. Their name numerology. All the band members, the original ones, 233. Guess what 233 is? The 51st prime number. What is 51? Antimony, the all-seeing eye of Horus that's in your brain. And they sang the song called Hilltail, California. We can't get mad at this stuff. The worst thing that if you want to make change on the world, if you want to be part of change, like true change, then you don't want to be doing what everybody else is doing. Fighting and resisting and trying to go up against the collective is not the right way to make change, folks. It is actually feeding that. Okay, so let me get to some of your questions. Aaron Conwell, no, I'm not ignoring you, brother. I don't know if you're putting this towards me. I want to be very clear, folks. I get so many questions in here, and they're just like it's a machine gun. I can't keep up with all of them. And when I get on my tangents and I'm talking, I'm looking at the camera. I'm not looking at the comments. So don't be offended if I don't answer your question. Okay, please don't get offended. I'm not ignoring anybody. So let me get to, let me see who. I literally have hundreds of questions here, hundreds of comments. It's so hard to keep up with it. It's just challenging. So cut me a little slack, please. What's the 58 tied to? Puppet Master. Cerium. My birth card, which is Trapped in Limited card. See, if you look at if you want to know the 58, I know it well. It's my birth card, which is why I do this stuff. So those of you that want to know what the number 58 means, tied to the number 13, which is tied to the word game. Hotel California, by the way, just means the game of light, the light game. That's what it means. When you break it down alchemically, Hotel California by the Eagles means the game of light. It's light coming down to become physical matter and play the game called life. That's what it means. 58. 58. Here's the 58th card in the deck of the tarot. The word puppet master equals 58. What do you see there? What do you think that person is? Trapped and limited. How would the puppet master be tied to that? That concept. If something's controlling our reality, well, this would be you and I right here. Trapped and limited. The 8 of Spades, my birth card. And I'm showing you all this stuff. I'm supposed to. But what do you do with it is completely up to you. Christy Decker, coked up personality. I'm not doing any cocaine, but maybe I have a little bit coked up personality tonight, maybe. That's funny. Yeah, if you just start studying these artists, it's just, it becomes a cosmic joke. Elvis, I decoded Elvis too. Totally being used. I mean, Elvis sang that song called Suspicious Minds. I mean, he says it in the song. I love you too much, baby. He's talking about the game of life. He's not talking about a girl. I can't get enough of you, so I can't leave. We're trapped. We're caught in a trap. I can't get out. I love you too much, baby. Hey, you love life too much. Life's fun. It's exciting. It's exhilarating. Maybe sometimes it's not. Sonny Bono and Cher sang a song called I Got You, Babe. It was plastered all over the movie Groundhog Day. I highlighted that. I Got You, Babe is the 82. Sonny Bono's the 82 tied to Prison Planet. I got you, babe. You ain't going anywhere until you leave this place. And then who even knows if you come back or not? So the Beatles, She Loves Me. She loves you. Who do you think she is? Here comes the sun. That's just... Oh, man, I'm telling you. Astrology website's called astro-seek.com. astro-seek.com. Oh, I have some coked up commentators. Okay, cool. Mike says, I remember when coke used to be good. That's funny. Do we follow the false light? I don't want to come back to this realm. You may not have a choice. See, so if we just, this is a good thing to talk about. We say, how about this? It's just light. So when you say false light, false is an adjective to describe the noun called light. It's just light. Okay? What are you going to do with the light? What will you do with it? You can use it for nefarious purposes. Like if you go into someone's house and it's light out and you tie them up and you kidnap them and try to hold them for ransom, are you using the light for good? Because you're not going to walk into a pitch black room and tie somebody up and try to use them for, you can't see. So you need the light. You need light to do that. So light is just light. What would we say it's false light? Well, okay, what is your definition of false light? Well, it would be anything outside of your non-truths. What would those be? It's an individual journey, this reality. You got to make up the deciding factor on what false light means to you. And then you don't want to come back to this realm? Okay, cool. I know a lot of people that don't want to come back here. First and foremost, I would highly encourage you to start becoming more grateful of your life around you. acknowledge everything around you. Why don't, I mean, a lot of people don't want to come back here because maybe their life sucks, but their life sucks is because they're paying too much attention to the mainstream. They're paying too much attention to what's on CNN. They're paying too much attention on what the president says. They're getting reactory towards what the president says. They're getting reactory towards these bills that they're passing. All this is all a big movie, folks. The less you pay attention, I mean, my life, I don't pay any attention to it. And then people say, whoa, what are you going to do? Hey, you know what? I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. Right now, if that doesn't happen for 5 years, if I don't get impacted by some law that gets passed for 5 years, if I don't even pay attention to it, I have 5 years of solace. I have 5 years of peace. I have 5 years of harmony. But if I worry about it from the day that I focus on it and I keep focusing on it and keep focusing, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You live this ride of shit. And then you finally get to that 5 years and then you get there and yeah, you got to deal with it. But it's like this whole roller coaster of 5 years of worry and fear is so much shit versus not paying any attention to it and having 5 years of peace and harmony. I'd much rather have that path. And the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, the world the world's so easy to fix. If everybody just stopped paying attention to the dirty laundry on the world stage. But it's not going to happen. I'm going to give all of you an analogy that I just gave to somebody today. I put out there. Somebody had commented something. And so I put this analogy out and I thought it was a good one. So I'm going to throw it out to you. So each and every one of you can have a great understanding of how this reality works. Okay? It's really simple. I used to be big into sports. I used to play them, competitive. I used to watch them. I used to I was pretty much an owner of a team. I wasn't, but I mean, that's the kind of fan base I was. And then one day I realized, like, wait a minute, I don't get anything from this team. They don't pay me for wearing their jerseys. They don't pay me for the subscriptions to watch them for a season. I get nothing. I don't get anything back. And then it was in my personal development stage. And then I finally realized that sports is the same thing as religion. It's a cult. And it's designed to be a vampire. I mean, is it a coincidence that the word vampire, sports, and religion all equal the number 27? No. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, if you just take NFL football as the example, during a game of NFL football, there are 11 men that go out on the field to play offense, and there are 11 men that go out on the field to play defense. 11 and 11. There's your 11-11 right there, embedded right into the NFL football. 11-11. If one of the teams does not show, what happens to the other team? They win by forfeit. They win by forfeit. Which, I mean, I've never heard it happen. But that's what would happen. The offense needs a defense to play against. Otherwise, there's no such thing as an NFL football game. None. There would not be any reason to play. You need two teams to play a game in these sports, and the majority of them, unless it's a single sport like golf or something like that, but you're still playing against other golfers. So imagine on an NFL Sunday, when all these games are scheduled, imagine one of the teams on all the games never showed up. Unimaginable, right? What would happen to that NFL Sunday? People would be angry. A lot of people would be angry because their team's not on. What's going on? See, two teams have to show up to play sports. and you have an offense and a defense. You have the Republican and Democrat going head to, one of them's on offense, one of them's on defense. How do you make how would you make that dissolve? How would NFL football dissolve completely? How would it dissolve? How would you get rid of NFL football, ladies and gentlemen? Probably the largest watched sport. How would you get rid of it? Stop watching it. You see, the NFL players, they get paid millions of dollars. Guess who pays them? You do. Those of you that tune in to watch, you end up ultimately, you may not come out of pocket with money, but your attention feeds those players. You are part of that construct. NFL football games have commercials. Who do you think pays for the commercials? The sponsors. This is simple magic. Energy goes where attention flows. If everybody stopped watching NFL football, it would crumble quickly. Imagine the NFL players went to a game and there was no fans in the stadium. There was that time during what just occurred over the past couple of years. It was weird seeing it. They were putting cardboard cutouts in the stands, but they still had eyeballs through the internet and the television. That's how they got their energy. But if everybody said, you know what? I ain't watching NFL football anymore. I'm done. I'm washing my hands. A lot of people, when they were doing the knee thing and that whole dumb thing, that whole movie, a lot of people stopped watching it. I'm done. If everybody stopped watching NFL football, there would be no more NFL football. That's it. It's that simple. These players need you to tune in to watch. They need you to buy their memorabilia. They need you to buy their jerseys. They need you to talk about them. They need you to show up at the game and buy the tickets to support the stadiums. They need that for the sponsorships, to get the commercials and to buy spots. They need that. So if everybody stopped watching NFL football, it would implode. See you later. If you take that same construct and you moved it into government, and everybody stopped paying attention to the government, stop talking about it, stop tuning into the mainstream, guess what would happen? It would send off a chain reaction. The governments would implode. They need your attention. They need you to pick a side. These television mainstream stations, they need sponsorships. They need commercials. They need companies to advertise and spend their money to, hey, can you do a 30-second commercial piece for me? Sure. But they only will spend the money if there are people watching the news. If you stopped watching the news, it would implode. But if you're running out there and you got your foghorn out there and you're yelling and screaming and pushing up again, you are feeding that machine. How you cannot understand this is beyond me. So if you want to make change in the world, ladies and gentlemen, stop feeding that machine. That's what you can do from an individual base, and you free up your life. And if everybody did that, it would those things would implode. It's that simple. But nope. People love their sports. And sports is all ego-based. Like, my team won. Yeah, my team's in the Super Bowl. I'm going to go put a bet on that team because they're going to win. And you betting on the team. You betting on sports keeps sports alive. You can't help it in life, because if it's not sports, you're going to put it on something else. When you show up to church, you end up giving your energy to the church. You may stuff some money in the tithing box. You may put it in the donation box. You may volunteer at the church. That time is energy. It keeps it alive. They are all archetypes. But see, people love their dirty laundry, ladies and gentlemen. They love tuning in and they like, oh my God, what happened today? Oh my God, 50 people died over here. I can't believe it. Oh my God, I can't believe that guy kidnapped that lady. Oh my God, you know what I would do if I was that? Oh my God. And you're feeding it. You thinking about these stories is feeding it. You talking to your neighbor about what that person did is feeding these things. So if you stop tuning into this garbage, these distractions, I mean, the Matrix tried to tell you, those are all the Mr. Smiths running around. Mr. Smith's got an easy job as far as I'm concerned. For the majority of the world stage, Mr. Smith he just kicks back and just observes. But like, these people are easy. I don't even have to do a job. That's why if you watch the movie They Live, folks, They Live, 1988, John Carpenter, Roddy Piper, obey, consume. That's the world around you. Obey, consume. Don't ask questions. Get in line. That's what this reality is based upon. It needs your participation to keep it going. It's that simple. And it uses all these archetypes because if it doesn't get you in sports, it may get you in religion. Oh, you know what? Oh, you're spiritual. Oh, I know you're a spiritual person. You don't follow it. Oh, I don't follow religion, but you're spiritual. Oh, okay. So you know what? I'll get you on the spiritual archetype. And now you're feeding this. I'm spiritual. Yeah, I'm going to go put some really zany clothes on. I'm going to go move to California and I'm spiritual now. I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. So now you're feeding the spiritual archetype. And if it doesn't get you there, oh, I'm an atheist. What do you think atheism is? It's an archetype. Feeding the machine. Sports, archetype. One of the most dominant on the world stage today, sports is. It's a cult. It's a cult. And people, they make money off of it. A lot of people make money off sports. Not just in the gambling sector, but people, agents selling their players, getting them their contracts. You're in management. I manage this team. You're making money off the team. It's in your best interest for the team to grow so you can make more money. So you can grow more into a Mr. Smith on the world stage in the Matrix. And the deeper you get into the Matrix, the less and less Mr. Smith has to pay any attention to you. You're easy. But it's when you come out of this, when you're an anomaly, when you go out of it and you're looking at this world and you can start to see everything's an archetype trying to get your attention. That's it. And just cut out the good and bad. Everything just is. It's just this big wave of energy coming at you, demanding your attention. Everything is an archetype, folks. From the cell phone, I have a Samsung. It's an archetype. It's a device basically it's the world in the palm of your hands. It's an archetype. It can give you answers, can tell your future, it can amuse you, it can entertain you. This thing does everything. And this is what people are grown accustomed to these days. This. You would not go back to a rotary phone. 9 out of 10, if not 10 out of 10 of you here, you would, if you had a choice and you said, hey, you know what? Hey, Billy, I say we go create a brand new phone company and we're going to go back to using analog. We're going to go back. I'm going to make a new rotary phone. We're going to put it on the wall. And we're going to install some lines in the ground, the telephone lines. And we're going to go back and we're going to start still stocking that company. What do you think would happen to that company, folks? It would take a shit quick. It would never even make it. The majority of you have conformed to technology, myself included. I would never want to go back to rotary phones. I would never want to go back to a horrible sounding 8-track player or cassettes with the hissing noise in the background. We are getting closer and closer to perfection. Digital. That's and we're conforming to it. And the digital age is an archetype. And we are moving into the age of Aquarius, which is the digital age. I mean, it's that simple. So Aaron Conwell, you must be using the Jason Bashir's archaics. You're an errant. I would assume so. But I would just encourage you, because when you're using this terminology, like I want to leave this shit-ridden, corrupted, low-life realm, I mean, you're here, man. I mean, that's not being, I mean, to me, this is how I'm perceiving it. That's like real low frequency kind of energy you're putting out. I don't know how you would even ascend when you're kind of like in that space. See, I think you need to be appreciative and grateful for being in your avatar, treating this thing like it's a temple, being grateful for your surroundings, raising your frequency, raising your prana, raising your kundalini, all these constructs. But more importantly, being grateful for everything around you, being grateful for being here. Because you don't know what looks like, you have no idea what's on the other side. It's a guess. So I would just encourage you, this is just from me to you, because you put the comment here, I would get rid of this, shit-ridden, corrupted, low-life realm. I'd get rid of that thought, that process. That's a really miserable way to live out life. Start to appreciate the things around you. Because life's beautiful, bro. It's beautiful where I'm at. And if it's not beautiful where you're at, well, then move. People that are thinking this reality is shit and crap, man, come to Mexico, man. It ain't that way here. I live in paradise, man. I got the beach is right there, palm trees, beautiful weather. You got to do it the best you can do, but I would definitely encourage you, if you can't move and be in a different environment, just be grateful for your surroundings, man. Get rid of the negative, like this realm sucks, this life sucks. What sucks about it? That's all I would just encourage you of that. So, I mean, you say this is a prison here. Well, your body's a prison. Your body's a prison. It houses your soul. You got to maybe look at it in a different way. Yeah, I'm seeking truth too. You're seeking your truth. I'm seeking your truth. This reality is amazing. I love life. That's how I look at it. See, when you start to live in a state of abundance and being a gratitude junkie, as I like to call it, life changes. Like, when's the last time you gave thanks to your bed when you wake up? Do you thank your bed for when you wake up from a good night's sleep? Are you thanking your pillow? Are you grateful for your teeth when you're brushing your teeth at night? All those years that your teeth have chewed your food, are you giving thanks to your teeth? They're archetypes. They're alive, When you're running down the street, if you're a runner and you run 5 miles a day, when's the last time you said thanks to your sneakers? When's the last time you said thanks to your legs and your calves and your muscles and your circulatory system for allowing you to run those 5 miles? See, most people don't do these things. And they just look around, they look at the world around them and they're like, this life sucks. Well, what do you mean this life sucks? Life's amazing. You're in the greatest times of mankind right now. Whatever's around the corner. This is the greatest time to be alive right now. You got to make lemonade, baby. You got to be drinking lemonade all the time. It's not always that way, but man, you got to push it. Gratitude is where it's at. I mean, just the simple stuff, The simple things that you can be grateful for around you. Everybody can be more grateful in their lives. Start reckoning, I talk to yourself. Give thanks for everything you do, everything you can do, everything you are doing. And then you'll start to say, you know what, life's pretty freaking amazing as a human being. This reality, all it wants is acknowledged. Everything wants to be acknowledged in this reality. Everything wants to be acknowledged. Otherwise it dies. So if you start saying life sucks, then that's what you're going to start to see more and more of, because that's what you're seeing. So you get rid of that and you focus on the gratitude. My life's, all these things. There's got to be something that's grateful in your life. Everybody here, you all should have gratitude coming out of your heart, abundance coming out of your life right now. All of you should have that. And if you're not, I'd suggest that you find a way to do it. That's the way to truly live. One of the requisites is to cut off the mainstream. That's toxic vampire energy. Cut it out of your life and start to live. Cut out the 2 hours you spend on football Sunday watching your team. You don't get nothing from it. Yeah, it's entertainment. But go spend it on maybe a hobby. Go take up a hobby that would be more productive in your life and more constructive. Go spend it more with your family, or I don't know, something like that. Ben Martin's asking, what would be the incentive for those to create new amazing things if not to get rich? How about just creating things? You know, like people have passion for art. They create new art, and you know, yeah, it's great to get a reward, to get paid royalties. But I know plenty of artists that just love creating art because they're artists. They like creating music because, you know, they're musicians. So it will depend on where you're at in your mindset. It will depend on, I think gratitude is where it's at. Gratitude to me is where the middle path. Gratitude, I mean, you got love and fear and you got gratitude. I think gratitude is the way to win this game. Be grateful for everything you can be around your life. I mean, folks, every time, I shouldn't say, I don't want to use absolutes, but I would probably say 9 out of 10 times when I go to the grocery store, I go almost every day. And when I go buy my food and I stick my card in the machine, you know what I'm giving thanks to? My bank. Every time I purchase something with that card, or most of the time, in my head, I'm giving thanks to my bank that carries it. Because without that middleman, I wouldn't be able to do my purchases. It makes it easy for me. When you can buy yourself a vacation, are you giving, like, oh, I went to Travelocity, or I went to Expedia, or like, thanks Expedia, thanks Travelocity. I mean, I've said it somewhere like, thanks Netflix, thanks Amazon Prime. You know, the delivery guy shows up at Amazon. Thanks, man, I appreciate you. You know, thanks for delivering my package. You got me my package. We don't do that. Mankind's not in the habit of doing that. Just give me my shit. Too busy. Don't bother me. That's the state of frequency the majority of the planet's at. Worry, doubt, fear. You're bothering me, get away. I'm not grateful for anything. My life sucks. The world sucks. Not in my world, it doesn't. Everything that you do in your life, you should be grateful for it. The technology, thank you, YouTube. Thank you to my YouTube channel. Thanks to all you subscribers. That's what I say, all you great decoders. I don't just say it because I'm saying it. I mean it. You can give thanks to anything and everything that you have. Why aren't you doing it? I mean, just the basic stuff. Like I said, the big one is like you brush your teeth. When you're brushing your teeth tonight, be in the present moment and say thank you to your teeth. Like imagine all your teeth are alive. They're all your little kids. And you know, like I'm almost 50, right? I got 50 years of chewing with these babies. I mean, that's a lot of energy that those things have put out there to make me satiate and taste buds and make me feel good and make my stomach feel good. The teeth. And your tongue and your saliva and your digestion. And when's the last time you started giving thanks? Like, give thanks to your teeth. Your teeth do all the work for chewing your food. You wouldn't have it. You wouldn't have part of the whole digestion if it wasn't for your teeth, but you don't pay any attention to them. Oh, my freaking teeth. Oh, I got it. Oh, I got it. That's what people are in the habit of doing, complaining about their lives. Not paying any attention to the things that are just like, hey, what about me, man? Like you wake up and like, man, I wake up, I'm like, today's going to be an amazing day. Thank you, bed. Thank you, pillow. Thank you, air conditioner, for giving me a good night's sleep tonight. Because if I didn't have you, air conditioner, I would be in the high humidity. It would be hot and I'd be sticky and the sheets would be sticking to me. Not a fun night to sleep. But because of you, I slept all through the night, had a great night's sleep, got my 8-9 hours, well rested to start my day. Thank you. Thank you. This is the acknowledgement I think that we all need to get. If you want to change society, this is where it starts right here. Gratitude, baby. Gratitude. Got to get in the habit of doing these things, you know, like it's great to hear about these concepts. Like these are just ideas that, you know, like through my journey, you know, of where I'm at, I've downloaded, like I got the t-shirt Gratitude Junkie. I've turned the word junkie and I've added gratitude in. It's completely changed the word junkie. Junkie's no longer negative because I've turned it into a positive. How we label these concepts. I mean, so many things we can be grateful for. You go put gas in your car. I mean, a lot of people can't even afford to put gas in their car, and you're filling your gas up. You're pumping in 50. I mean, I know it's it's expensive some places. You're pumping, you're putting gas in your car, and it's like $75, and you're bitching and complaining. And then there's somebody who pulls up, and I've seen it, man, and I feel bad. It's like they pull up and they can only put $5 in. And you're bitching because you have to put 75 in. They can't even put $75 in. You filled your tank. They're barely going to make it to where they got to go because they can only afford to put 5. Compare your life to theirs. See who's got the better outcome. But you're complaining about, wow, it's so expensive. And, like I remember when, like Zoom, I use Zoom for my readings. I remember about 2-3 months ago, they started charging for before you could do 2 people and it would be unlimited. You could do as long as you wanted. Now, if you get the basic Zoom package, they only give you a 40-minute time limit. That used to be if you had 3 or more. Now it's just 2. So I remember I was like, I had to make that decision. I'm like, well, my readings are way beyond 40 minutes. So it looks like I'm buying a Zoom package. I'm getting a Zoom membership. I didn't bitch about it. I didn't complain about it. I flipped it and I said, thank you, Zoom, because I use your tool so I can do readings for people to help out humankind. So I'm grateful that I'm spending this $15 a month. That's acknowledgement, and that is acknowledgement for gratitude. And then you can add on to whatever it is that you want to add on to. But people, it's just crazy. Even with Derek's Gematria, people complaining and bickering about, well, you got to spend the money. Like, dude, you use it all the time. You're using the site all the time. You've been using it all these years, and now you're complaining because you got to spend $5 a month on it. Really? People are not grateful for the things they have in their lives, and then they want to blame everything else. Amazing, the reality we live in. People do really look at things like, I'm like, glad I don't live in your shoes, man. Whew. Jessica says, I got rid of my car. I walk everywhere and I love it. I don't own a car. I'm a minimalist. I came here to Mexico. Everything's walking distance. It's amazing. I'm so grateful for that. And then I go back to the US and I'm back in keeping up with the Joneses kind of energy. And I'm like, the contrast was so great. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I'd even want to go back to that. You know, that whole, because now it's like, if you take a look at your life and you're like, oh, how many liabilities do I have? How many assets do I have? Well, everything is going to be both, right? But it's like, how many really is the car you drive? Is it more of an asset or more of a liability? It's going to be both. Going to take you to places and all that, but like you have to park it in certain places because you don't want anybody to ding it. Is your insurance going to be way more? And then you're complaining about the insurance. And it's like $200 more than the other car. And it's just like I'm all about like minimal, less headaches, less frame of mind, and just you're free. So I say free Logan, right? That's my, you should, whatever your name is, free whatever your name is. That should be your motto, right? Tramatrane, have you decoded Elon Musk? I have not come out with an official decode. I did talk about him on my last. So since you're asking, let me show you, because you may have missed it. I know my lives are really long, but since you asked, let me show you what his birth card is, okay? And the interpretation of Elon Musk. So I think he was born on the, is he a 28 baby as well? Let me just double check this. I think he's June 28. Yeah, he's June 20. So Elon Musk, okay? So I want you to take into consideration the synchronicities here that I'm about to tell you for this guy, okay? I don't know him. I'm looking at it right now. He's the wealthiest man alive. Don't know him. Everything that I'm about to tell you is based on the interpretation of the connections of his birthday, et cetera, okay? Don't know the guy. Doubt I will ever meet him. But nonetheless, here we go. So June 28th. Now remember what I told you earlier, maybe if you were not here, other people that have the 28th for their birthday. Anthony Fauci, William Henry Gates, the guy who published the first Bible of the New Testament, all have the number 28 for their birthday. Interesting, right? Well, anyway, Elon Musk, June 28th, and he's a futurist. So keep that in mind. He's a futurist, right? Like he's got all these career-minded things, wants to go to Mars, into rocket ships. And his birth card is the Two of Clubs, June 28th. Two representing duality in some examples. The club suit is the mind suit now, represents the mind of the cosmos. So you have fire, air, water, earth, air, the mind. After fire. Fire and air combine together. The air makes the fire hotter. And now you have plasma. Plasma hits water. And then it becomes earth, which is the spades, okay? But this is fire. I mean, this is air. Thinkers. This card is card 15. The mirror of the 51. I've already told 51 started transhumanism, and then this Two of Clubs is this card right here, the Two of Wands. If you are a fan of the tarot, this is multiple different ways to look at it. If you're using the Fool as 0 and card number 22, this will be card number 23 or 24. If you're using the Fool as 0 and 22, the most popular spread on the world stage, this will be card number 24. Now, Elon Musk has a rocket ship company called SpaceX. It's got the big X. The X is the 24th letter on the English alphabet. And he's got the 24th card in the deck of the tarot. Interesting, right? Now, the interpretation of this card is you can see the individual has the world in the palm of their hands. Forget about the shape. It's indicating the world. And it's standing in between two pillars. The pillars represent the sun and the moon, the Ark of the Covenant. And this individual is now looking out over the land with the world in the palm of its hand saying, what am I going to create? The world is in the palm of my hands. The world is my oyster. This is the beginning stages. You've planted the seed from the Ace of Wands, card 23, tied to the words blood, crown, and history in numerology. But this one is now you've planted the seed. Now you are going to start plowing the fields and cultivating the fields. And now if you synchronize that with astrology, you go from Aries to Taurus, and Taurus is the bull, and the bulls were there plowing the fields. Aries plants the seeds, the fire starters. Taurus now starts to plow the fields and cultivate to make room for the creation of the Trinity and the number 3. But this is Elon Musk's birthday. Elon Reeve Musk. And it's the future. He's the futurist. Right there. Card 24. 24 is a very, very special number because 89 is the 24th prime number, and that's the 11th Fibonacci number. And 11 is tied to the word brain. We have 24. 24 is tied to the X chromosome. He's got the space X. Okay, tied to our DNA. 24 is tied to the word church. The word church is 24 in numerology. I built this church upon the rock, said the Christ. He's a futurist. It's really interesting with that guy. What he's all about and what he incarnated for. I mean, he's 51 right now. I mean, you want to talk about synchronicities right now because we're looking it up. Born in 1971. 71's tied to the element lutetium, which is tied to Lucifer. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. He's born in the 28th. Lucifer equals 28. I know this well because my birth city's 28. My longitude is 71. Tied to this whole stuff. And then he's 51 years young right now. 51 tied to antimony in the implant in your brain. And this guy's a futurist. What do you think's going on here? He's got the sat links and all this technology tied to transhumanism, folks. That's what I see. That's how you interpret these cards anyway. That's why these cards are so valuable. They give you, now I'm not saying he's everything I just described, but you can get a little head start from the basic fundamentals of these cards. '51, that number's been everywhere. 50, remember, you look in the mirror, 51 is 15. 51 is 15. And Elon Musk has the 15th card in the deck. He's 51 right now. Something big seemingly is about to go down on the world stage. We're in Rosh Hashanah. We are in the 50th Golden Jubilee year. It's the 5,783rd year on the Hebrew calendar. 5,783 is the 759th prime number. 59 is the game of life. 7 is completion. 759. Something, and then you got 2022, the triple twos. Triple two is linked to radon, tied to Lucifer. Something's going down with the sun, and a lot of stuff. A lot of interesting stuff right now. Someone's vibing with Vice. What do the ciphers mean? Where can I learn? Well, I would, if any of you have not started to decode, I would start with yourself first. Start decoding yourself. That's where I would start. I have a video how to decode yourself on my channel. If you just go to my homepage, it's there. If you go to my self-help category on my playlist, it's going to be there. How to decode yourself. It's an hour and 5 minutes long. I would start there. You can figure out more about what you are and what you're all about. Then I would encourage all of you that are new to decoding to only use one numerology cipher. Pick just one. Don't get in the habit of using the base 4 ciphers because there's going to be 4 different options to choose from, and then it gets watered down. Pick one. So eliminate the 4 and just choose one. You can pick any one. You can do the reverse if you want to. I would suggest, since if you go to Gematrinator, Derek's website, I would just use the English, the green one, English ordinal. Just that one. Just start creating your foundation with all the words, just using one cipher. Then you can start to branch off. But I would definitely use Chaldean if you can over all the other ones. The reason why I say that is because Chaldean is the oldest known numerology cipher on the planet, and it works off of not just the numbering system, but it works off of phonetics, the vibrational frequency of the letters and the shape of the letters, and it's heavily tied to the Hebrew alphabet. So it has history with origins. All right, Maximus. Enough with the trying to be right now. Folks, if you're in here and someone is, and I'm guilty of this, so I'm speaking right to a mirror. If you're in here and you're looking at the comment of somebody else and you're getting a reactory act, if someone's pushing your buttons, like you'll say that, oh my God, that freaking irritates me. That is the one thing you don't want to move towards. Stop being reactory. Just allow other people to say what they want to say and just say, who cares? Everybody's got an opinion. Not everybody's opinion is going to match up with yours. Not everybody's opinion matches up to mine. Maximus, your funny logic dictates that I'm correct. That's you trying to be right. That's just you trying to be right, brother. That's all that is right there. I know you're having a conversation. I'm just giving suggestions here, ladies and gentlemen, that's all. And the suggestions that I'm throwing out your way, take them or leave them. My intention are designed around having a better experience in life. That's all. That's it. I'm looking at my notes to see if I can spark up some other conversations here in all of you. I mean, I got my transhumanism notes here. So many, my God, wait, ladies and gentlemen, when I come out with this decode, man, wow. All right, anyway, let's, all right. Thanks for your comment. Was it Kill? I don't even KIL. I don't even know what your avatar is, but thank you for your support and your kind words. Appreciate you. Jay Warren, what's up, brother? Have I ever looked at Wayne Bush's Trick by the Light website? I have not. Am I going to do a Halloween decode? Probably not. Ryan's asking that. You know what's interesting about... let me just go double check this, because this is just hilarious. So I started working on this. Not Halloween, the actual holiday, which is tied to All Saints Day, which is tied to the church. Okay, so that should tell you everything right there. But I was actually looking at the movie Halloween, 1978. And I started to break this down. And the main star of the movie is Michael Myers of Halloween, right? And the actor The actor who got casted was Nicholas Charles Cat. Let me just, this is the comedy now, okay? And this is how I know, again, we're living inside of a movie. Let me share my screen, show all of you this. For those of you that are Halloween fans, all right? So here is the cast of Halloween. Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Pleasance. But here's the guy right here who was the main star, right there, Nick Castle, who played Michael Myers in that horror movie. Number one, the dead giveaway is his name is Nicholas. And Nicholas, when you tie that to the periodic table, you go to the element right here called nickel. And nickel, if you go and look at the origin of the name, it comes from the German word Kupfernickel, which means devil's copper. Number one, okay, and then it's got the weight of 58, and 58 is puppet master. But number two, the kind of the dead giveaway is his birthday, September 21st. So we go to the charts. This is how you decode. You grab the chart and you go, what birthdays he got? Well, right here, the 3 of clubs. Well, guess who else has this as their birthday? How about Thomas John Ellis that got casted to play Lucifer? This guy right here. This guy right here who got casted to play Lucifer. Even though he's got the 17th of November for his birthday, 17 November, you go there right there, 17. Here's November. You come down to the 17th. There it is. 3 of clubs. So now you have some fun going on here. This guy's got that casted to play Lucifer. He has the same birth card, the 16th card in the deck, tied to the word light, as Nick Castle, who got casted to play Michael Myers in the horror movie Halloween, who went out killing people. Okay? This is my support for saying that we are in a movie, and the movies are a fractal down. But welcome to my world, folks. That's how funny this reality is. Oh, it's just hilarious. Well, Jane, when you say Halloween, Hallows Eve, which is pagan, pagan just means from the earth. So that really doesn't mean anything other than any holidays that's pagan. It means it's from the earth. It's actually worshiping the earth, but I guess that's for a different story. The King of Hearts card, Karma's Real. The King of Hearts card is the 13th card in the deck. 13 is tied to the word game. 13 is tied to the word game. We are playing the game of light. 13 is also tied to the death card. So really, when you look at this King of Hearts right here, when you go to the lineages of the cards, and you come over here, here's the King of Hearts card, the 13th card in the deck. Now, these hearts in this system now are the fire suit. Fire, air, water, and then earth. This is the King of the Earth, the King of Spades. I showed this in my, was it Skull and Bone? My Hurricane Decoded. 52, Prison Planet, okay? 52, the King of Spades. But this is the starts it all off, the King of Fire. Okay? And it's the 13th card. And then you go to the tarot card that represents that. And it's right here, the 50th card in the deck. The King of Cups. And then you can get into numerology and the words "in God we trust" equals 50. In Spanish, that would be cincuenta, which is going to equal the number 33 in numerology. But this is a really interesting number, this 50. And then you have the 13 in the cards, which is the King of Hearts is right here. And then the card that is attached to this is going to be the Two of Clubs, which, remember, that's the birth card of Elon Musk. Okay, this is the spirit card, not of Elon Musk. He's got the Ace of Spades attached to him, which is tied to transhumanism. So I can confidently say to all of you, oh, actually, I didn't even have my screen on, but anyway, I can say to all of you that, to me, Elon Musk is incarnated. His job is to be a proponent of transhumanism. That's my opinion, based upon the elements that I've shown you tonight. Okay? The Two of Clubs is tied to the Ace of Spades. The Ace of Spades is card 40. Westworld is 40. Transhumanism through the Francis Bacon is going to be the number 40. And Elon Musk, that's his spirit card, which is this one right here. This is the card, one of the cards of transhumanism. Ace of Swords. Card 51. Tied to antimony. And Westworld and the... This is all going to be my transhumanism decode. But again, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I'm not attached to any of these things because they're possibilities. But if you just look at the handwriting on the wall, in the current moment, where are we headed? Where are we headed as a society? We're moving into machine. How far down the rabbit hole will we go? Time will tell. But I can assure you, the majority of you watching this podcast, you would not want to go back to horse and buggy stage of life. You would not want to go back to having to take a bath outside and heat up your water over the stove. You would not want to go out and go to the bathroom outside with a flashlight in the freezing cold in an outhouse. You wouldn't want to do that. You love your technology. You love it. You have conformed to it. All of you here have conformed to technology. Whether that's the convenience of turning on the air conditioner when it's hot outside, whether that's flicking on the light switch and your lights come on. I mean, what's the alternative? Do you want to go back to having to light candles with a flame? Some of you may be the exception. Maybe like, you know what? I could totally go back to that. But personally, I don't think anybody here would want to. So how do we actually make this a happy medium? That question remains to be seen. $19.99 works for me. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the freaking 80s and 90s. I totally love those times. But I mean, I could go back to, I could get rid of my cell phone for sure. I'm somebody that I could live without a cell phone and be totally happy and fine in life, for sure. But there are other things that I would not want to go back to. Because you see, ladies and gentlemen, with technology comes advancement, and it makes your life faster, more efficient, which means that you're able to get more things done. See, if you're driving in your car and you have a business idea that's very, very important, or you have a time-sensitive matter, and if you don't get it done, it's going to cost you whatever, and you don't have a cell phone, and you got to wait till you get home, and you're driving and you got 50 miles to go. I mean, which option would you choose? Would you be like, man, I really wish I had a cell phone right now? You see, so there's always going to be a catch with any of this stuff. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, the technology, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I think everybody here wouldn't want to go without it. At where you're at right now, to go backwards in time, I just don't think you'd choose that path. Collecting cassette tapes and records and 8 tracks and watching a television through a tube. If you took all these things into consideration, like giving up your flat screen and then rolling in this big, heavy, ugly black and white television that's maybe like this big, and saying, okay, you're going to have to use this. And so I think majority of you, if not all of you, wouldn't go back to that. So how do we actually get congruent with technology where we can adapt and make this a happy medium? I guess time will tell. Yeah, Jay Warren, it is. Life's a double-edged sword. You got a great point. You lose privacy. Your clients know your phone is always near you. But however, I will also say though that you set up your, like if you're a business owner, you open up a restaurant, you're married to that. Like I know people that own restaurants and they're like, you're married to that thing. If you're really starting out and you're on a budget. You're there 7 days a week. You're in there. You're working long hours. That's your master. And that if you didn't have that, you'd be free, and then you'd be able to take that time and put it into something else. So it just depends. What is your master in life? So I agree, Jay Warren. It's totally a double-edged sword. And that's why life's a contradiction. It's a contradiction all the way around. Life's a contradiction. Yeah, I mean, a lot of you here are making comments about the pale horse. Next step is the phone in us and the metaverse. And, is this where we're going in life? What happened to the other cultures? And were they as advanced as we were? I mean, if you take I study a lot of ancient Egyptian stuff. And, you could easily pose the argument or the position of saying that ancient Egypt were far more advanced than us. But if that was the case, where were their cell phones? Where were their computers? Why were they? And if you just say, well, they were ruined or they were eliminated, okay, but why were they making cuneiforms? Why were they, making clay tablets? I mean, that's not advanced technology. I mean, if you take a piece of paper and a pen and you compare that to sticking something in a clay tablet to make your symbols, I mean, which one's more efficient? Which one's more advanced when you compare the two? Well, a piece of paper and a nice pen. So then we have to then take into consideration the age they were in. But I mean, how far advanced are we really when you compare to these ancient societies? Where are we at in all this? Yeah, the boredom. They could have communicated telepathically. I'm totally all about the possibilities of telekinesis and maybe. But again, I mean, the way, if you compare how we are as a species compared to back then, I mean, who's the more dominant technologically advanced society? Us in the present moment, or going back just using ancient Egypt? Or the Roman times when they had the Colosseum and what they were doing back then. And if you look at the way they dressed and what they drove, I mean, they weren't driving around in cars back then. They were using horses and chariots and buggies. I mean, if you compare that to today and the cars that we have and how technologically advanced cars are, who's the more advanced society, us or them back then? I mean, hands down, we're in the most dominant advanced society right now. You're in it. You're living in it. That's why it's so exciting to be here right now. Folk Dykstra says Tartaria was more advanced. Well, I mean, what would you use to support that? I appreciate that comment. But the buildings don't give any notions of anything being more advanced. I mean, our skyscraper, I mean, the Tartaria, the buildings were not, they don't even come close to how high we've built stuff, to how stable we've built stuff, to earthquake proof, to, I mean, just the quality of craftsmanship and the materials used. I don't think Tartaria even compares. They may have, maybe the arches, but I don't think when you compare it to some of the buildings they've built today, I don't even think they come close. But I get your point. I mean, but again, yeah, Gemini eyes, we're just in a different age. I think that has a lot to do with it. I think the age of astrology that we're in that's ruling over us, if you take these concepts into consideration, this is, we're now, we can't really compare. We do that, but all that matters is the now moment. And we're in this age right now. Some people don't even think we're in the age of Aquarius. Some people think we're in the age of Pisces. So. All right, let's shift gears. And I want to give you guys something to think about. And I think I'm going to kind of end this transmission a little bit earlier than my normal 5-6 hours. I'm not going to go that long tonight. But I want to give you guys something to think about. Let me kind of maybe end it on this note here. So going back to Vedic astrology, okay? So I've got this slide right here coming out with my, I think this is an eye, I have an eye in the sky coming out. And, I think you can synchronize everything and anything. Numbers to zodiac signs to the science of numbers, astrology. And, what I wanted to point out to all of you is something that is very, very interesting to take into consideration. And what you're seeing right here is the astrological wheel, both Western and sidereal/Vedic. Now, this is the sidereal chart because inside the 12 astrological signs on the outskirts are the 27 nakshatras. And I have this word enter right here in the very dead center. And the reason why I have that is because there's a possibility that we entered into time through this concept. Now, this right here is the 21st nakshatra called Uttara Ashada. And you notice that the dominant ruler of Uttara is Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn, which is ruled by time, or ruling time. Now, it does have a sliver of Sagittarius, which would be Jupiter Zeus. But is it possible, I've postulated this in other decodes, is it possible that we all enter the game of life, which is time, through Chronos? And we go through this 21. And then if we just go all the way across, down here, we are now in the realm of these two nakshatras, which is number 7 and number 8. And I want you to keep in mind that the two elements on the periodic table to give us the clue, are these two right here, 7 and 8, which is nitrogen and oxygen. And these are the two main components of the air we breathe. Not these elements, but the air we breathe is about 79% nitrogen and 21% oxygen. 7 and 8. And we look at this graphic again, and just across the way in 21, which is matches to the word enter is these two nakshatras. And what are they located in? They're located in Cancer, which is the moon, and Gemini, which is the prison bars, which I've shown this in my prison planets, etc., etc. So these are concepts to take into consideration that I'm working on decoding with, and you can add in the tarot cards. But the one thing that I wanted to focus on to kind of finalize this, what's your question number 43, is this position right here that I've put a square around. Because you see, ladies and gentlemen, this marker right here is the separating point between the age of Pisces and the age of Aquarius. And the nakshatra that is the container of that transition is this Purva, number 25. So if we are in the age of Aquarius, or we're about to move into that, what have you, we're on the verge right there, or we already are in the age of Aquarius. We are in this 25th nakshatra right here. And what's so interesting about this is when you tie alchemy into this. Now, I want you to think about what I'm showing you here. And remember, if you're here, hopefully you have watched some of my decodes on Prison Planet and, and a lot of my other decodes showing what I'm about to show you. Hopefully it'll jog your memory. But you see, ladies and gentlemen, if we are moving into transhumanism, and there may be a fork in the road where you'll have that choice, okay? But I want you to take into consideration this placement right here, going from the age of Pisces, and now we're into the age of Aquarius, or we're soon to be, or it's going to be this number 25. Make no mistake about it, we are in this 25th nakshatra. Well, then you bring alchemy into this. And what is the 25th element? It's this one called manganese. Now, what I want you to look at is the icon that the Royal Society of Chemistry uses to represent manganese. And it's this cow being lifted off the ground by a magnet. This element's called manganese. Are we just the cows? Are we just cattle? And are we going to be lifted off the ground, as in ascend out of here? Or does this mean that we will move into transhumanism? Because as you can see, this element has a weight of 54. And 54 is tied to Hollywood and the dream and everything I've been showing you. But it's also tied to this word right here. Keep your eyes on the Chaldean there. It's also tied to this word right here, phosphorus. And then it's also tied to the xenon element. The 54 is. This 54. It's tied to xenon, which means stranger. The stranger in your head. And remember, I said earlier that we live perhaps in what this construct is right here. This is a xenon bulb that is used in movies. The motion pictures that you watch when you go to the theater likely has this bulb in the projector. And this bulb right here is made with xenon gas. And there's so much more to this, but this is a xenon bulb. And xenon is a noble gas. And xenon means the stranger in your head. And what's really fascinating, ladies and gentlemen, let me get rid of these two, is that when you open up xenon, you're going to see that it equals the number 27. 27, which is tied to this word right here. And if you don't like that word right there, it'll be also tied to this word right here. And if you don't like that word, it'll be tied to this word right there. So all these 27s are tied to that xenon. And then remember, the paradise that is talked about in the Bible is 25. And then we just go right back to the periodic table and remember that we're perhaps going to be living out what this icon represents. Is this the rapture? We can't leave these concepts out. I mean, if you watched Avengers Endgame, I've rewatched it again and again. Well, that movie by Marvel, not saying that it's the absolute truth, but in that movie, you know what they showed? The rapture. People just disappeared off the world stage. So if you take this little icon and you compare it to this element manganese, which has a weight of 54, it's the 25th element, and the word paradise is 25. And you go back to this picture right here, and I showed you this Nakshatra, number 25. This is where we are probably at in the scheme of the ages. We are living in Nakshatra number 25. Are some of us going to get the hell out of here? Is the rapture a real thing? Well, again, I'm taking every single thing into consideration and not putting my faith in or expectations in anything, because I just don't know. No one knows what's going on here. But I thought that was really, really interesting. It's something I'm working on right now. And this is the age of Aquarius right here. So this is something that, is really heavy on my mind right now. And then, then we have 24, which, this is tied to Elon Musk, and, the 24 tied to the letter X. He's got SpaceX. Is this going to be transhumanism right here? And the people that don't want to do that, will they be able to get the hell out of here? Are you going to be able to get out of here? I don't know. But this 25 is awfully interesting when it's tied to the word paradise. And then on the periodic table, it's tied to this element manganese, which has a picture of the cow being lifted off the ground. And are we just the cattle? Are you just going to get recycled back into the game? Or are you just going to, are people just going to be just absorbed into the digital space and move into transhumanism? And are we just going to be moving into what's called the digital paradise? This right here, which is going to be that 42. Life, the universe, everything. So we just don't know, ladies and gentlemen. It's just really interesting, these concepts. And obviously you can see just using numerology is really a dead end. But there are many ways, as they say, to skin a cat. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's kind of some fun stuff to look at. All right. So let me just look at some of your comments. I love it. So I'm not even going to go with that comment. Doesn't matter. All right, guys, guys and gals, let's try to keep it, like I said, ladies and gentlemen. If you're here, I hope you've advanced and leveled up in your thinking, not to get reactory towards people. Everybody's right here in this chat room. Everybody. And if you think that someone's wrong, well, I would suggest that you go look in the mirror. Go take a look at your philosophies in life. Go start to study everything. Yeah, Glenn Starr, xenon is used in some automobile headlights. I'm looking at everything because the Philips company, Philips is 13. Philips, that makes the bulbs for the majority of the motion picture companies, 13, which is tied to the word game. It's tied to the word game, 13. The light game. We're playing the light game. That's what we're playing. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I've proposed so many different things to all of you tonight, today, wherever you're at in the world. I appreciate each and every one of you showing up, man. It's been a fun ride. I've gone off some tangents. Hope you get something out of this. What's your question? Number 43. 43 being the 14th prime number. Remember, 14 is tied to the word time. It's tied to the word God. It's tied to the word Satan. And 14 essentially means pi. 3.1415, which is the numbers that make up the word Satan, which I hope you watched my Satan Decoded. Philips is connected to the royal house in my car. Yeah, Philips is the origination of it supposedly is Dutch, from what I researched. I am Kairos. Have I decoded Tron? Yeah, the Tron, the remake of it, the second one with what's his name? Jeff Bridges. Tron Legacy, 2016. You know what he said? You know what the big takeaway was in that movie? Remember that movie, Tron. I'm going to let you guys go with this one, ladies and gentlemen. That movie was about Jeff Bridges being able to go inside the game called Tron. He was able to digitize himself and go quantum. And he goes down into the game. He creates the game. He creates Clue, which is a mirror of him, which is his ego. So the analogy of Tron is that it's God going down into its own game and creating a mirror of itself, which is its ego. And then the ego starts to overrun the program and no longer wants to be rogue. And then his son comes down, Sam. Sam is 314 in numerology. All has significance with numbers, trying to save his dad. And when he comes down there, they want to get out of the portal. The bridge opens up and the light goes up. And Jeff Bridges simply says to his son, the way to win the game is not to play. The way to win the game is not to play. So the big takeaway for me anyway, the way I interpret it, I've watched the movie many times. Great movie. And go watch my Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I can't believe how many people have watched that Decode. I mean, I didn't think so many people love that movie. 17,000 of you watched that Decode. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Disney's movie. You know what that whole movie was? Besides Rick Moranis shrinking his kids down with a laser beam, it means that it's God or the gods or coming down and becoming man or woman. Alice in Wonderland, shrinking down. Matt Damon, downsizing. Why were there giants on the world? Why are we the size we are now? What's the next step for mankind? Well, when you use logic and critical thinking, it's going inward. Downsizing. This is quantum. And that, to me, ladies and gentlemen, I think is what transhumanism is all about. And again, I'm not attached to it. I stand in the middle. I'm an observer of life, seeing which way it's going to go, because I follow my script. I'm along for the ride. I enjoy the journey. I'm grateful for everything around me. I would encourage you to do the same thing. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm sending you all a lot of love and just great harmony from the paradise of Mexico. And I'm encouraging all of you to be a gratitude junkie. Be grateful for everything in your life. Everything. Stop looking at the world as it's evil and disgusting. And my world's not. You know why my world's so beautiful? Because I turned off the static. I go out into paradise. I go out into nature. I go to the beach. I walk places. I'm appreciative of the birds and the bees and the insects, and I'm careful where I walk so I'm not killing other animals and insects. I'm aware of my surroundings. My life's beautiful. In a horrific world, it can be a very horrific world if you start paying attention to the world. Turn that world off. Just like Tron said, Jeff Bridges, the way to win is not to play. Anytime you turn on the news, anytime you tune into the mainstream, that's you playing the game, playing their game. And remember, it's just a big movie set. It's a movie. So I'm just suggesting to put your energy on to your life. Stop paying attention to the static on the world stage. And I think your life will fare much better. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that's a wrap for what's your question number 43. I'm going to end this with, or conclude this one with, let's see, what do I want to end this with? And you guys and gals can chat amongst yourselves. I leave this thing open for the whole song. Let me see, I'm trying to find, what do I move it to? I'm going to play a song by the Cars. If you haven't seen this Decode, check it out. It's called Just What I Needed by the Cars. The great band, the Cars from the 80s. I'm a huge fan of the Cars. So there's a Decode in my video selection called Just What I Needed. I'm going to play the song to end this. What's your question number 43? If you're interested in what that song means, what I think it means, I decoded it. What I think Rick Ocasek and company meant when they sang that song. And here it is. So if you're interested in what this means, just what I needed. What needed you? The game did. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Logan, Decode Your Reality. I'm sending you all tons of love, man. Until next time, we will see you later.
Wasting all my time, 'cause when you're standing oh so near, I kind of lose my mind. It's not the perfume that you wear, it's not the ribbons in your